All right, Patch, are you ready?
Ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1. We fucking hate Triple H! Yeah! Woo! Yeah, baby! AEW versus TNA here tonight in the Long Boys Zone with Total Extreme Wrestling. Hello, everyone. My name's GirafaStev, president of the Long Boy Club, the large enjoyer of gaming, wrestling, not Triple H, and my stinky cat. Cats and dog now. They're sleeping right behind me. Oh, motor. Tonight.
Boy, Ollie.
What now?
Good boy, Ollie.
Good boy, Ollie. Good boy, Henry. Good boy, Romeo. All of my boys are good. I also have a good girl here with me as well. She is a stream regular. She's one of my closest friends. Is Patchworkheart. Hello. How are you doing, Patch?
Hello, I'm doing all right. How are you?
I am very tired from Walmart, but I'm not. I'm not tired enough to not be here playing. Honestly, a game that has really captured my imagination anytime I play it. It is the best booking simulator that I think I've played. And I play a lot of them throughout my time. I played, you know, like all of the ones in the SmackDown vs. Raw games, the new ones in the 2K games. I played Journey of Wrestling to death when I first heard about it from the OSW review. But this one here has really just like dug its teeth into me. And there was a point for like a whole month where like I thought about nothing but this.
Yeah, I remember this.
I thought about nothing but this. And to this day, I'm still trying to get the TNA, well actually no, it's still the NWA title off of Jeff Jarrett and onto Ron Killings because Jeff Jarrett has creative control clause and he's a reluctant piece of shit who won't let Ron go over. But
he'll drop the title to Kazuyuki Fujita and fucking.
He'll go overseas and drop it and completely fuck up my story. And then force
fucking
me
0-1.
in 0-1. In 0-1, they'll drop it there and completely fuck up my story. But when he comes back stateside, Ron Killings, more like dog shit. Absolutely no way, brother. That right there does not work for me, brother.
I don't say that to knock Fujita, not least of which because if he heard this, he would probably fly over to America and kick my ass.
But you fucked up my story, man. You know? You completely ballsed it up. And honestly, I should have just hotshot the title onto Ron after that because he absolutely would have dropped the title to Ron. But he's also a little prickly. So
yeah.
All of this to say, we're not signing any people to creative controls because that's a recipe for like just having a 4-year-long world title reign that I don't want.
First rule of TEW, just if you ever see the creative control clause and you're thinking, well, this is my one chance to get this one guy that I really need to make a big start. Don't listen to the demons hiding in the pentagram. Just don't do it.
If you see the option, no, you fucking didn't. If you saw it, no, you didn't. Just keep going. Just keep going. You just keep on building up Mike Bailey. He'll get there eventually. It's fine.
Yep. And yes, he will.
And eventually he will buy some goddamn shoes. They said that he was going to buy with the $500,000 that he said that he won on Dynamite. So I remember that first money match. Like Mike was saying, oh, with the money, I'm going to buy a pair of shoes. He still hasn't bought a pair of shoes. He's still got the grippers out every single match. So
I mean, he probably has bought the shoes. He just wears them on concrete instead of in the ring where he's not supposed to need them.
He's got them, but he's like self-conscious about it.
But this is like my thing, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like the grippers, they're like my the grippers on my identity.
I did not land Veda fucking Scott by wearing shoes in the ring.
She saw the grippers, and it was all uphill from there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I am, of course, talking about the seminal, the iconic Total Extreme Wrestling. Specifically, Total Extreme Wrestling 9. This is, I believe, the most current version of the game. We are going to be running a mod on this game. By the way, this is an extremely moddable game. I would like to make something of our own in this at some point, but that would have to be a whole ass project. But anyways, we have a mod in this that simulates, you know, the world of wrestling at around, I
Like
want to say late 2024 to mid 2025. Mid 2025, I think, is more accurate because I think the first AEW pay-per-view that you work on a new save file is Double or Nothing. So, and of course, I'm gonna hotshot the title onto Hangman, but we're gonna do some other things here too because this will be a night, like I said, of AEW and TNA booking. I'm gonna be doing AEW. Patch said that she wants to do TNA and unfuck their situation.
Like
at the moment.
Like, if anybody knows me for anything wrestling, it is the fact that I was the most ardent TNA defender on the internet until the moment they re-signed Tessa Blanchard.
You were there.
And I could not do it anymore.
You were there for Tito Ortiz and Ken Anderson scratching his head, just completely bewildered over the fact that Tito Ortiz is in TNA. My favorite part of that bit is they just keep coming back to him. He's not even like doing anything new. He's just standing there. I like to think that maybe he like had a bigger role, but like either like maybe he forgot like his line or like the camera guy just really likes himself some Ken Anderson because it's just really funny how much they cut to and from him when there's like so many other guys in the ring.
I'm going to put it this way. Eric Bischoff is like fascism. Every idea that he's ever had, he has stolen from someone else.
Eric Bischoff is like fascism is an insane way to put it.
Like the NWO, the reason that he has a career to this day, stolen from Japan.
Yeah. And then
he spent
and then Japan stole it back
career
with Bullet Club.
Yep. With NWO Japan and
Bullet Club.
BWO Japan eventually, which became Kai and Tai.
BWO Japan? Oh yeah, that's right. That was fucking Kai and Tai, yeah. Choppy yo beep. Yes.
But that's really it. Like you the invasion angle, you stole from someone else. Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, you stole from someone else. And Hulk Hogan has never been good at creative anything. I'm 95% sure the whole Dungeon of Doom shit was his idea, which that maybe would have done numbers in 1989.
Much like the water in the actual Dungeons of Doom. It's not hot.
At the absolute height of Hulkamania, you probably could have gotten away with that shit. This Saturday morning cartoon type garbage. But
are you saying you didn't pop in
1995, in a company that still wasn't super hyped to have mid-career Hulk Hogan, like, you're not gonna get away with that shit.
Are you saying you didn't pop when the Big Show fell off the building during Monster Truck Sumo?
I mean, I was 3,
came out,
but no.
And then he had a son called the Yeti Jr. and he squashed fucking Santino 4 times.
Christ.
In 3 months. That's insane. I remember that. That was crazy. But what's going to be even crazier is when I hotshot the build onto Hangman and you squashed Tessa Blanchard out of the company. So.
And Trick Williams. We're squashing the fuck out of Trick Williams.
Aw, but Trick Williams. No, it's fine. Whoop that
like,
Trick right back to NXT. Whoop it right back to NXT. I was gonna say,
like, I got nothing against him as a person, but this whole WWE thing just fuck all the way off.
It has been
Once again, 3, 2, 1. We fucking hate
Triple H. Woo! Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Oh, I feel like Josh Peck. What? Why was... Dude, that is like one of the most insane shots in all of media for me. It's Josh Peck standing next to goddamn Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian saying we fucking hate Triple H. And like Chris and Frankie are like G'ing him up and shit. They're like, yeah, man, you tell him. You tell your shit, Josh. Do it. It's the greatest shit of all time.
Truly the final domain of every child actor. Random videos with indie guys basically filming a fucking cameo.
Again, that's the most fucked up ensemble of all time. Like name this faction. That's a real name this faction image.
I'm just gonna still call it bad influence and just put Josh Peck in the fucking bad influence shirt from 2000 2012.
You just give him Bobby Roode's role.
You're gonna find that he's the you're gonna find out that he's the guy who paid Claire Lynch.
Fucking for sure, yeah. Begin game. Let's do it. AEW versus TNA. Well, I don't know if we're really gonna be facing each other, just more existing within the same realm.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. Because I don't really want to destroy you. I actually want to help you get out of your current situation. my AEW booking is really just to I guess circle jerk my favorites, I suppose.
Yep. I just need TNA to not be shit so that I can feel like a hipster again.
So you can feel something, man.
Something other than just exhaustion at the state of the world.
I need Mike Bailey to win the TNA title so I can feel something.
Yes.
As a bonus, I'll even give you Kevin Knight.
I was gonna say, can I have what do I need to send you to add Deonna Purrazzo to the trade?
God,
what a fucking waste.
A nice pizza.
Okay. Anyway, while this is loading, if you don't know me, my name on Twitch and in various other places is Patchworkheart. I go by Patch basically everywhere. Mostly well known for being one of the
incredibly
main
cool
arts.
Oh, yes. What are you well known for? What are you mostly well known for?
Being a massive gremlin and one of the biggest Futaba stands outside of the normal Persona fandom, because the normal Persona fandom is fucking weird.
Both of these are true. I mean, just look at the profile of it. Can I ask? And it's been a while since I've sort of been plugged into Persona stuff. Is Futaba a trans icon? Because I see the background.
I have tried to make her one, but I don't think it's clicking. Because again, the Persona fandom is fucking weird. But genuinely, the last I played the biggest thing that had happened was, I was doing a New Game Plus run while I was job searching a couple of years ago, and I had gotten to the entire Futaba arc. And just playing through the whole thing, I turned to my wife, Renee, and I was just like, this bitch trans as hell. So
I feel like, and this is obviously like not throwing shade at the idea, but like I think that it would get further if she was positioned as like an autistic icon, because this bitch has
so
tism.
autistic. Just
she has so much tism, so much
drowning in the tism.
Absolutely drowning in like undiagnosed autistic conditions. It's incredible. I love her very much, and she's my favorite sister.
Yes.
Anyways, we need to pick our character here.
Yeah.
And you know, I feel like I know what you're picking. This fucking thing. Because that's what you picked when we like
did the test run.
Yeah, like when we did a test run. You could pick the Rizzler. No. Stephen Emile. What? Oh.
Did you forget about that?
Yes. But you know what I didn't forget about? Germa.
Yep, Germa.
I love the description. Jeremy Suskai Albertson, better known as Germa985, is a Twitch streamer, voice actor, former YouTuber, active serial killer, and egotistical madman, known for his eccentric personality, commitment to the bit, and general ability to make anything funny. This compact Bostonite has enjoyed a lengthy period of success online, due in no small part to his exceptional creativity, creating some of the strangest yet funniest moments on the internet. Whether it's a live stream gathering with actors playing his family, an interactive circus with robots controlled by viewers, digging for buried treasure in the desert, a ridiculous game of The Sims with himself as the star. This crazy mentalist.
My name was Germa once.
This crazy mentalist, who is now Patch, is willing to do anything to please the voices in her head that she calls chat.
Oh, I was gonna... Yeah. I thought player one was you.
No, yes it is, but you said I was called Germa once, so...
Oh, I would... When I use the homunculus...
You're speaking for him.
Yes.
Okay,
like, I'm trying... It's only funny if the homunculus says it.
Right. Like the homunculus, he does have voices in his head. I don't know if he calls it chat.
They counsel him. They understand.
Life.
Stev092, thank you for following. You're now a member of the Longboy Club for life.
Hi, Stev. Well. Or Stevo.
Other. Oh, wait.
That's my boy. That's my boy.
So, like, apologies, but when someone new comes in and I've not seen them before, a small part of me thinks that they're a bot. So
no, this is actually my boy. There's another wrestling server that I'm in.
Ah, the fellow dude. The marks are descending. They're like impeding right now.
Yep.
They're like coming together in a big conglomeration, much like Mark Briscoe and co. I'm going to be I'm gonna be Germa because I feel like that he would really like Timeless Tony Storm. So I'm playing as him.
Okay.
Now
there too.
You should be able to control. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you being
the obvious answer again is Yoshihiko, because it's Yoshihiko. The other obvious answer is the giant panda.
Who is, and I quote, adorable and the most dominant force in all of wrestling. Both of these are true.
Yes.
I love that. I said it on socials, but I want to create like a Wordle game that's nothing but like wrestling trivia and concepts. I want to know just how many people know about Andressa Giant Panda.
I know there's some kind of like I know there's like a immaculate grid for wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're just gonna go with Yoshihiko. Stick with the
Stick with what we know. Would you
Stick with what we know.
Here, I'll take control. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Let me take control. There are user characters in the database. Would you like? Absolutely not. I want to sign Danny DeVito at some point as a manager. Yes, we're keeping all of them. Now.
All right.
Germa.
Hello, Mario.
Thought I'd check this out for a little bit. Well, thank you for coming in, Steve-O. Appreciate seeing one of Patch's friends here. And like us, do you also fucking hate Triple H? Because we fucking hate Triple H. But I don't hate Germa. And you know what Germa doesn't hate? AEW. I will be playing as AEW. Should I be the owner or just the booker? Because then I would have to take calls from like Tony Khan.
I never play as booker because the owner goals are always ridiculous.
They're always arbitrary. Yes.
Yeah, they're so arbitrary.
That being said, I think it would be funny. So I'll do it.
Take calls from Tony Khan. I have to be the owner to be able to remove myself from the alliance. What an incredible
like changing of the guard here in total nonstop action.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. There you go.
Get the owl out.
Get you owl.
No, not like that.
We want all of these guys. Please select which player is active.
I'm guessing you're going to go first.
Sure, I'll go first. Now, let's check out your number one wrestling source. New AEW. In shock news, AEW last night handed the reins of power to Jeremy Albertson, who has become their new head booker. The surprise news has also triggered rumors that the promotion will see a whole host of changes to their roster within the next few weeks, as the new booker looks to make his mark as quickly as he can. I mean, listen, everyone is saying that Tony Khan needs to, you know, start consolidating, or at least, you know, kind of like putting more people in positions of power so that he's not as busy. And what better person to give power to than Germa? So, oh, but what's this? Pat, you read it.
Free. And now it's time for the 6 o'clock news. In breaking news, previously unheralded entrepreneur Yoshihiko has taken over TNA in a shock move. The takeover came out of nowhere and has many insiders reeling at the speed of the switch. Some have even claimed such a quick takeover to be, quote, unrealistic. And to that I say, fuck them.
Don't fuck the blow-up doll, though, or you'll be fired.
The blow-up doll is for wrestling, not for fucking.
What is Gleet? We're on the wrestling. Is that Glee have quietly been sending out feelers to many top nights to send them out about the possibility?
I forget what. I think that's SEMA's new promotion.
Promotion are understood to be looking to add fresh momentum and feel a new visionary heading the organization is the right move to make. What is Glee? SEMA.
Okay.
It's almost time for a 2-minute Cheetos break, my dudes.
SEMA is there.
Okay, yeah.
But it's from Wikipedia. CEO
and Booker, yes.
Pronounced great. It's pronounced great. Of course, the L and the R in Japanese is wonky. Okay. Is a Japanese pro wrestling and MMA promotion founded by former Pro Wrestling Noah parent company Lighted Entertainment after the acquisition of Noah and DDT by Cyber Agent. The promotion is overseen by Hiroyuki Suzuki and former MMAer and pro wrestler Kiyoshi Tamura, who was he was in Pride, fought a bunch of like early Pancrase guys.
Okay. Okay, you know what? No, this promotion can go fuck itself. Look who's on the roster.
Is it SEMA? Oh, Alberto Patron, of course.
Ricky Chozu. Minoru Suzuki.
How old is Ricky Chosu at this point?
He is. Let's see. 73 years old. Well, what's he doing? What's he doing?
Is he the booker?
No, the booker
or is he just
Sema.
like? Does he like show up like once every year to do like this one crazy fucking? He does like one tag match, so they could say they got fucking Riki Choshu on the card like a fucking indie. Jesus Christ!
He'll be Sabu of this company. That's crazy. What the fuck? Okay. I don't know. Like that's high. I know it's pronounced great, but Gleet just like Gleet job search. It just sounds like a job search engine, you know?
Or like it's like a cleat company founded by a baseball player with a name starting with G.
Millennial, fashionable millennial cleat company. It all started with two guys that had cleats in a dream.
and I'm just waiting for them to I'm waiting for them to post like the
Hello Mario,
like a bunch of YouTube ads where they advertise that you can win a fucking off-brand truck.
Yes.
For a Lambo or $100,000 in cash.
Yes. Yes, that'll be like the next like YouTube sponsorship thing. It'll be the next Raid Shadow Legends. Yeah, go and get these goddamn cleats.
Better help.
Yes, it is better than BetterHelp. Like if fucking Maven started like shilling for cleats, that would be a better world to live in. Anyways, no disrespect to Maven though. I enjoy his content. He is probably still one of the best ones on YouTube at the moment. At least like one of the more unique ones.
I need to watch more of his stuff. I used to really like Stevie Richards stuff, but I think he kind of fell out because he fed the trolls too much.
Like really drank like, you know, the AEW hate Kool-Aid, I feel like.
Yeah.
Too. So.
Yeah, which is a whole other stupid fucking thing.
Now that's heat. I was gonna start an ad real fast.
Okay.
Also, hi Ashley. I'm sorry, but we gotta go to ad real quick. Run the ad.
Dynamite rolls on after this.
Dynamite explodes in your face
it's
after
time.
this.
Where the heck's the Cheetos, my dudes?
Duck for cover. I can just tell this is one of mine because of shitty quality.
Like Illusion of Gaia.
Wait, no, it's not.
Is packed with a load of hints if you need them. Earthbound is an easy RPG, but Nintendo wanted the game to be easy so it provide constant, uninterrupted fun. Earthbound has so many comic elements to it.
This is Earthbound
game and never see those funny scenes.
I still need to play Earthbound. I actually fucking bought it on the Wii U.
I bought it on the Wii U as well. It was like one of the only things to buy on the Wii U at the time.
You can play the game with your left hand
and
eat pizza in the other,
my Wii. I still have a Wii U, and it's got a fairly decent like VC library. The Wii U is underrated. God damn it!
Arcade. Burger shop.
I would agree with you, if not for the fact that the Switch has all of the Wii U's games and even better games than the Wii U.
Well, that's kind of why that's almost why it's underrated. Like the games are still really fucking good.
It's really good, but you gotta play it with...
It's just the naming convention made people just decide not to buy it.
It's a naming convention, and also the fact that you're playing it with a giant controller that lasts for 3 hours and has a touch screen that Nintendo themselves didn't know how to make games for.
I mean, I liked when I did the giant touchscreen. That shit was good.
I mean, like, listen. I was fine with the gamepad mostly because, like, at face value, it doesn't seem like it would be that great, but when you actually have your hands on it, it's surprisingly comfortable. But for like the average person, I'd imagine they look at something like that and it's just like, oh, well, that's just a controller for the Wii. No, it's the controller for the new Wii.
Them. Oh, excuse me, we're back, my dudes.
Hey, welcome back to...
Low key, I enjoyed the I enjoy holding the Wii U gamepad a lot more than I enjoy holding the Switch, like in either capacity.
I will not disagree with you there, but in my case, the only time that I use the Switch anymore is when I'm playing it at home and with a Pro controller. So
I don't have a Pro controller. I play it consistently in handheld mode if I am playing it. I still need to beat fucking 1000 Year Door remake. Anyway, welcome back to Dynamite.
Yeah, welcome back to Dynamite. How are Henry and Oliver? They're doing good. They're doing good. They're doing well. Acclimating to Romeo. Romeo is asleep behind me right now. He's like spread eagle on the carpet right now. He's a very sleepy boy. Romeo, in case you don't know, is my new pit bull. We took him in as a foster pet.
He's a sweet boy.
And he is just the sweetest little boy. He's a real big licker. Anytime I come home from work, he like pounces and then like just slobbers.
What a sweetheart.
Yeah. Anyways, Cody Rhodes in the money. WWE wrestler Cody Rhodes appeared on TV last night, contributing to a discussion about highly paid sportsmen on The Locker Room, a popular sports talk show. Rumored to be earning around $150,800 a month. Cody Rhodes is said to be the highest paid wrestler in the world at the moment. We'll have analysis on his comments later tonight. What? Powerhouse grappler Alex
That's $1.5 million a year. The vast majority of athletes in the four major pro sports make more than that. At this rate, I'm pretty sure MLS players make more than that. I don't know why that's even part of the game.
Hold on, let me check his bio here.
162.9.
So wait, it's more than that.
It's not even accurate, but still, like,
it's not even accurate, but it's even more than what was said. That's crazy, dude. Okay, well, how much am I paying Hangman? I need to check. Adam Page.
29.6, but of course he works a lot fewer dates than
Cody does.
Although they're not really doing house shows anymore.
They don't really do house shows.
They quit house shows after the pandemic.
Yeah, they haven't really done too many since then. Wait, is Adam Cole injured or is he still? Okay, yeah, he's a TNT champion right now.
I keep forgetting that title exists, but AEW has so many goddamn titles.
To be fair, they retired 2 of those titles and fused them into 1. So now they only have 2 mid-card titles.
The Continental and TNT?
No. The Unified Champion and the TNT Champion.
Okay.
I do think Unified title is kind of a bad name, but whatever.
Yeah.
Because Unified is usually reserved for, like, you know...
That's like the world champion. That's like undisputed world champion.
Yes. Alright, so my champions are more or less accurate. Let's see here.
Yeah.
Mercedes Moné. Do I have anything that's pre-booked for, like, All Out?
I doubt it.
Pre-booking.
Yeah, I was gonna say the game never comes in with like pre-booked.
Sometimes
stuff.
They have storylines too. There are no storylines on AEW. International and Continental was combined to unify. Yeah. That's what I said. I don't know why they just didn't call it like the Intercontinental title. I mean, that's fine. Like New Japan had an Intercontinental title for a while. Although I understand that, like, you know, that invites comparison to your rival. So I imagine they wouldn't want that. But anyways, homunculus. I didn't realize you were like that. Powerhouse grappler Alex Hammerstone is on the cover of a major fitness magazine. The issue hits newsstands tomorrow and features an interview in which the American wrestler describes his fitness regime, which I'm sure.
Is that before or after? Well, I think Hammerstone was in TNA before he signed the WWE deal.
Yeah, Hammerstone was in TNA. In fact, I think he's on your roster. No,
it says currently unemployed, so I guess not.
Never mind.
Kind of wild that, like, why didn't he just go back to MLW?
I don't know.
If he didn't stick with TNA, it's fucking weird.
Anyways,
he was going to be AEW or MLW's figurehead. What it seemed like.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just do this.
Yep. Yep. Hot shot that motherfucker.
Jon Moxley versus Adam Page. We gotta put some shine on this guy, man. Yeah. There you go. I would like for there to be an actual tag storyline. Hold on. Well, where are my tag teams right now? We have E. Johnson, Blake Christian. I've never seen this tag team work on TV before.
Which one is the Titans? Hologram and Commander.
Maximum Male Models versus the Hurt Syndicate would probably do numbers.
Yeah.
Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn.
Oh God. God bless them. I remember when Private Party were just babies.
I remember
like at the very start of AEW.
I pegged them to win the tournament, honestly.
Yeah, I thought so too. That looked like they were going that way, and then I think Dante got in. One of them got hurt.
No. You're thinking of Top Flight.
Okay.
Top Flight is the one with Dante and Darius Martin.
Yeah.
Heels who are both considered stars. Faces who are both considered recognizable.
Yeah, they're in
Ring of Honor as well. I like how Stem is former NXT
KOR and
Faces who are both
KOR and Roderick Strong.
You know what? That's my feud. That's my feud right there. Paragon and the Hurt Syndicate. I feel like that would go hard.
Yeah.
Especially Kyle O'Reilly and fucking Shelton Benjamin. Ah, yes. In fact. Come on. Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin taking on Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong. Hurt Syndicate versus Paragon. There you go. Cool. We'll do TNT title storyline as well. Because I like Kyle Fletcher. Adam Cole versus Kyle Fletcher. I'm gonna make sure that like Fletcher actually like wins the title off of Cole and he doesn't just drop it to injury.
Yeah, Fletcher needs a belt.
The problem that I face now that I actually have like a full roster and like, you know, my own championships and people that fans give a shit about.
Yeah.
Because I want to put a lot of them over, but some sacrifices need to be made.
Yeah, the AEW, like, I've clowned on them in the past, especially in relation to their women's division, but they have a really good problem, right? That like they have a lot of really talented workers that the fans give a shit about, and you can't feature all of them.
Mm-hmm. It's a good problem to have, but it's also just like, man, sacrifices need to be made, but I don't want to sacrifice anybody, you know?
Which is kind of what ROH is for. Is kind of the. It's not. It's like a level above NXT almost. It's not really developmental. Yeah. It's just like these are guys who, as of right now, would kind of be mid-carders in AEW, but it gives them something to. Exactly. It gives them something to do and a chance to keep their name out there. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit developmental, but
I'm thinking
like for someone like an Anthony Bowens is gonna have a lot more luck in Ring of Honor than maybe he would on the main roster.
Which is funny because the current storyline going on with him and Max Caster is essentially them saying, hey, as singles guys, you both suck shit, so like you should get back together. Which like,
yeah,
I don't know. I like Anthony Bowens, you know. I don't think he sucks shit as a singles guy.
No, he was fine. Just felt like it did feel like they were kind of Titus O'Neilling him
a little bit, yeah.
That was my frustration. Is like, hey, look at this gay guy we've got we've got over here position. And he does Pride Parade grand marshals and shit, and it's like cool, but he's not on TV.
Yeah, why can't I see him on my TV more?
Yeah,
you know. All right, let's see.
Same with fucking Nyla Rose.
Dude, I want more Nyla Rose, like just in general, because
like
we don't
why is
get
Nyla Rose
ever?
Like, why is Nyla Rose not in the T? Like, I understand that we have to have Mercedes Moné have a belt, but like, is there another way that you could do that to where Nyla Rose is competing for the TNT belt? Fucking start moving Athena into the AEW upper card where she should be, and then you can have Nyla competing for the ROH title consistently. Like, think.
Elite. Okay. Danhausen has big morale issues. Oh no. He is...
The hell could that be about?
Furious at the firing of CM Punk. You're still mauling over that? It's been 2 years, brother. You know, just for that, I'm sending you over the ROH.
I was gonna say, like, at a certain point, you just can't be, like, nothing I do is going to make you happy.
Exactly. Just for that, you're going to ROH. Here, how do I, like... Let me see here. The Forbidden Door.
Have fun in Ring of Housen, brother.
Propose alliance loan. Here, you want Danhausen? Because I don't. Oh wait, hold on.
Yeah, that's you taking a person from them.
Okay. How do I send them the Ring of Honor? Caster did a good job getting over by getting his ass kicked on his open challenges. I will give them this. Both him and Bowens did like a double face heel turn on that one episode of Collision. Like people started really getting behind Max's like open challenge stuff. And well, there's one thing that we learned from Hangman. It's that people like a guy that is on his back, you know?
Yeah.
AEW fans love to cheer for fucking guys that are on their backs. So, and Max Caster was definitely on his back a lot. Let me see here.
I think you can go to roster and then find Danhausen again.
Here. Oh, wait. Hold on. Child companies. Roster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to Danhausen real quick. Current CEO is Jerry Lynn. And Christopher Daniels is the booker? Is he? That's crazy. Send away. Send in the Ring of Honor.
Yeah, that's really what you kind of have to do.
Its orders are meant to be to foreign companies. Dude, I don't want you for an excursion. I just want you out of here.
How long is his contract? You might just cut him.
Yeah, it's until September.
You can eat that.
I can, yeah.
That's 3 weeks or 3 months. So like 21 it's just pay him out 21 grand, which is nothing.
Mm-hmm. Retired wrestler. Let's see here. I want to check something just for shits and giggles. What does he have, like the injury prone stuff? Heavy social media user. Easier to achieve and maintain an impressive physique. Easily marketable. Giving performer. Risk taker. Oddly enough, it doesn't list him as very injury prone. So
That is interesting.
I didn't know he was a protege of Al Snow. Although he does have hurdy leg, so
Yeah.
that might pose a problem later on. How's Hangman? Oh, well, he's great on everything. So cool. What are my shows? I'm pretty sure that they're just like AEW, Dynamite, and Collision. All In doesn't have a graphic. Hold on. AEW. All In. Do I have All In? Hold on. All In. There you go. Use this picture. There you go.
Yeah.
Now everything is just and as it should be. It's a dream. Tacoma. That's normal. Above average. It's highly regarded. Legendary show. For 4 hours, All In? It was longer than that, brother. That shit was like 6 hours long. Anyways. You know what, yeah, I'm just gonna I'm gonna let Danhausen just sit at home. Bitch ass. Your turn.
Alright.
You book TNA now.
Alright, switch.
You should be able to. Check your roster. Yep,
Okay,
right
I did
there.
switch. Alright. So, like I said, we take a look at the champions. Q took a little bit of time. Yep. Titles, you got Call Your Shot Gauntlet. That only happens at BFG, which we got another couple of months for that. The international title, current champion Steve Macklin, which that's the fucking that's been so many different titles over the years. Fucking global King of the Mountain.
Gotta make it the Legends
TV,
title, dude.
Digital media. The Legends title when it was fucking
Booker
Main Event
T.
Mafia. Abusive prick.
Sasha Slamovich.
We got to get that off of her.
Oh,
And
no.
then, yeah, unfortunately, I guess Ash by Elegance / Dana Brooke retired. We don't know why. Some sort of injury. Didn't seem like it was a storyline, but I haven't heard anything else about it. And of course, we got to get the belt off of Trick Williams. the Nemeth twins and Moose as the X title, which is interesting, but not the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Really?
I mean, Samoa Joe was the X Division champion for a while. So storylines, we don't have any. We're gonna make first one is we're gonna put it back on Joe Hendry.
Okay.
We're gonna put it back on Joe Hendry because there's no why the fuck wouldn't you?
Very true.
He is the TNA main event. Period.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I believe in TNA. NXT Invader Trick Williams. Star Joe Hendry. To Stamford. Yeah, Orlando. To take back TNA's honor. There you go. Are you just gonna, like, take the title off of Williams first chance you get?
It's gonna be at
the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, I need to check the loan. When the loan expires.
You have 30 days. It looks like.
It says, is that Garrett
has entered the final 30
days. Has entered the
loan.
Final 30 days of his loan period.
Check
what
out,
is the
check out
expire?
contract.
Okay, so it is. Yeah.
What pay-per-view do you have this month? Slammiversary?
Let's see. It is June. The next show is Against All Odds.
Okay.
Do they not have a picture for? God,
I mean, they
have
might.
A picture for goddamn anything.
Modify the event.
Yeah, just takes it a couple of minutes. GFW. Fucking
GFW? Get out of here.
We got to get that Global Force gold, brother.
Yes, absolutely. TNA Explosion.
Yep. And then we need, as it says, we need 3 storylines hot or above, and production department currently has warnings regarding potential penalties, which has to do with all of this because we compete with the guy we fucking hate.
At least you don't look amateurish. You got enough guys on your roster.
Second, the second issue is we're gonna sort this by women. Right, gender identity, any female, search. So we have Alicia Edwards, Allison Lay. Oh, that's a ref. Ash by Elegance / Dana Brooke, Danny Luna, who I think is in a tag team. Like,
she's in Spitfire. I know that.
Yeah, she's in Spitfire. Gia Miller, Harley Hudson, I think is Jessica Havoc. Heather by Elegance, Indy Hartwell, Jody Threat Killer Kelly is a good, which Masha I think is listed as a face, yeah. Eileen King is the former Zia Lee.
Yes.
Rosemary is always a good choice. And I think, when does Tessa's contract expire? Until 2027. Jesus H.
I fucking love just she returned for some fucking reason.
Yeah.
She made her TNA return for some fucking reason at Final Resolution 2024 by attacking Jordan Grace, someone who is likely leaving TNA and seems to be signed with the company. Or maybe not, brother. Who's just... I love the Deadlock reference there. It's great.
So I am going to... I'm also going to make my Homer choice. And Stev, you know exactly what I'm doing right now.
Oh boy, yeah! Yeah, baby. Goddamn Scott D'Amore's main squeeze. It is Jealousy Shop.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, according to this mod.
According to this mod. We signed exclusive written contract, $7,100 a month.
Okay.
Contract would last for 3 years. Make offer. Okay. So
great.
We are gonna have to give it to somebody with some momentum, which I'm guessing is or like somebody who can work as a heel. Rosemary, I mean, Rosemary is always a good choice.
Yes.
You also have Ash by Elegance, who's a good choice, although the gimmick is rated as poor, which is not great.
Wait, what? Alicia Fox?
I did not remember this. This is after my time.
Is this a thing? That's crazy.
And then Zaya Brooke. Let me check tag teams as well. Teams. Sinner and Saint. That's Armory. Spitfire, Danny Luna, and Jody Threat. Aztec Warriors, Great Hands, Hardys, The System, The Rascals.
You need, like, another women's team, I feel like.
Yeah, that's kind of what...
no, don't exit.
I'm not... I don't want to exit. It's just not doing what I wanted it to do.
You should try...
I think we might just go with Rosemary, because we're gonna get the title off of Slamovich. And then I kind of want to, at some point, I want to look through like.
Jaron Nolitz, thank you very, very sorry if I mispronounced that. Let me know if I did. Thanks for following. You're a member of the Lomboy Club for life. Now. And Patch, before we continue, I feel like that you should try to sign Nyla Rose. Because I know you want to. Exactly, you're going for it. You're going for it.
Is she eligible to be signed, though?
Type it in. Let's see.
Willing to negotiate.
Development. She does not need development. I'm calling her up, dude. I'm calling her up.
Negotiate. This would be a handshake deal of $400 per show. Make offer.
She's not your main thing. She's my main thing. But
yeah,
I'm letting you have her. So, because I feel that she would absolutely tear it up on your roster.
We're going to do Rosemary and Masha Slamovich. We're going to not really address.
Hold on.
You
continue on.
Okay. No worries. Hi, Romeo.
Yeah, Romeo's a bit of a loud boy right now. Hi, bud. How are
you? But we're gonna try to lock in on. Of course, it's Rosemary.
It's almost time for a 2-minute Cheetos break, my dudes.
Bullshit.
About 1 minute away from an ad.
All right. Go ahead and run the ad now. I've got to think about some supernatural bullshit that Rosemary can do.
Okay, got it.
Dynamite rolls on after this, or Impact rolls on after this.
Impact.
It's break
Makes
time.
An impact after
Where
this.
The heck's the Cheetos, my dudes?
What it roll? Oh my god, it rolled the controller. my favorite creator wrestler that we'll be making in SVR 2011. It's literally just a guy in a fucking, like, superhero-esque costume. And he's, like, at a video game event of some kind. Like, the video file was called The Control-R. It's like T-H-E-E Control-R. And that was the name of the Gitsy video when we found it. And me and Colin were watching it. It's like 22 seconds long, the entire video. And we were like, we need to include that one because it's funny as fuck just the fact that this exists. Because it's two newspaper clippings of like a video game event of some kind. And there's like a dude with a superhero mask and a cape and like a suit. And it's like it's presented without any context at all. And I'm just like, we need to make context for this. Returns from a vacation from hell to find that there's a new champion in town. She kinda liked Jordan Grace. So this cannot stand for much longer. About friendship, brother.
About friendship, brother. My little demon, my little demon. And then we need one more storyline for sure. I also want to think about
nom nom. Oh, excuse me, we're back, my dudes.
Hi, welcome back to Impact.
Yep. Zaya Brook, welcome back to Impact. Zaya Brookside and someone who can work as a heel. Broken gimmick. I'm guessing that's like a I could probably make that work. Zaya Brookside and Kylan King.
Oh. Okay. Is that
Although
your team?
it's just to see if I can get my biggest concern is like I need another face team.
Okay.
You got Indy Hartwell, like
Lei Ying Lee and Indy Hartwell.
Yeah, I'm not sure how.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, we could probably turn that into like a there's your third storyline. Is we got to figure out how to get them together and at least give them a shot at the titles just to see how the chemistry works.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna make that our third storyline.
Yeah, you need to like put them all in individually.
Yep. And Indy Hartwell.
Elegance Brand versus I love this. Can they coexist? Hell yeah.
As well.
The Elegance Brand. Hell yeah. Right. Okay.
We're gonna get and then I gotta add new team.
I think so you're gonna add Zaya Brookside and Kylan King.
Yeah, I think Kylan King, Zaya Brookside.
Australia's hottest commodities. Death machines. The colognes? What? Since when did you have the colognes here? That's weird. That's crazy, honestly. It takes a minute
Like
for
how
it
long
to
it
load up.
takes. Yeah.
It's gotta load all the PNGs. Lei Ying Lee and Indy Hartwell.
I'll come up with a name for them at some point.
Well, not all tag teams started with a name.
Yep. Add team. All right. So we're gonna see how that works, and then as of right now, I also wanna. I mean, we're gonna have people that are gonna cycle out, and then we won't have the benefit of the alliance after that's done, and so I'm gonna need to do some stuff to fill up the women's division, especially, and just kind of. I mean, the role of TNA in the wrestling ecosystem is to be the medium stop for people who are just leaving WWE or AEW, or the young guys who are going to that place.
Yes.
Like Josh Alexander.
who's funnily enough in AEW right now.
Yep.
Speaking of which,
and actually doing something, shockingly enough.
Yeah, he's finally doing something. It took him a long time, but he's finally doing something. I'm very happy about that because I'm
unlike his former partner in the North, Ethan Page.
I thought he had a title in NXT.
Did he?
I'm pretty sure he does.
That fucking
it's
shit show. I don't give a fuck about.
He has. I'm pretty sure he has a belt in like NXT. It's like the North American title, but I think he's like, it's like rechristened it to like the Canadian title or something.
As is the inevitable ending of every wrestler from Canada who ever goes to WWE, except for Edge.
I mean,
except for Edge specifically.
To be absolutely 10,000% fair, WCW is like the one that I remember doing it first, because I remember when Lance Storm won the U.S. title over there, he rechristened it to like the Canadian title. So here, let me see the goals. Let's gain popularity in the USA. You can't hire any wrestler who is classed as having a brawler style. You can't have any that are classed as having a hardcore style. Brother, you have Jon Moxley on your roster. Your main guys are brawlers. What are you talking? Okay, we're making it like just indie-rific as shit then. Got you. They're gonna let me just hire at least one hardcore guy once you see the gains that we're gonna be making on this show. Let's see. You know what? Speaking of Josh Alexander, I feel that... Wait, where is he on the pecking order? Recognizable, okay. Let's see his popularity. Because if I'm not going to take him out of the Don Callis family, I think that the next best thing might be to give him the international title. I think that would be fun. Glacier? Oh yeah. Wait, how popular is he? Southeast. Oh no. You telling me people don't know Glacier? Come on now. Dare I look at his attributes? Better as a babyface. He has no attributes besides better as a babyface. Okay. At home in
Can't
Japan.
play comedy?
Wait. What are you talking about? Literally, like,
the man is
all
the
comedy.
man is most known for literally portraying Sub-Zero in in WCW. Why? What the fuck?
Mm-hmm. Where's Adam Copeland? There he is. Cage, occasional wrestler. Which I thought he was like still full time. Okay. For the fuck of it, I'm gonna just do it. Let's just fucking do it. Josh Alexander versus Kenny Omega.
Oh, that'll fucking slap.
In an effort, at least in the Don Callis family. Josh Alexander looks to take the AEW International Championship. Off of Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega. And Josh Alexander. Right there. We're gonna make you to a star, kid. Because I know it's going to, pop, wait, Luther. Oh, okay, I got it. I'm gonna put Mike Bailey in a storyline. What storyline, though? Is he in a tag team right now with Kevin Knight here? No. Wait, was this a pre-Jet Speed world? Hi, Oliver. Was this a it was a pre-Jet Speed world. Well, that just frees me up to do whatever I want with him then. What's like a recognizable heel that I could put him up against? Not Blake Christian. Torn Quad, no. Major star by the company. Let's see here. Hero. Claudio. No, I'm not gonna have Danhausen job out. I'm just gonna have him sit at home, like I said I was going to. Let's see. Jalistico, no. Hologram. Jack Perry. Currently available to work, not injured or absent. I feel like that could work. Jay Lethal. Jay White. Works... No. No, Germo works heel. Alright. And he's an occasional wrestler. What does he have? Easy to do business with. Brittle bones. Increased chance of the injury being a severe one. Troublesome back. The worker is always willing to take stunt bumps, but draws the line at riskier bumps. Okay. So wait, does he work better as a face then? 100% baby face. And struggles at ass to be heelish.
I would just... So you gotta handle turn if you're gonna use them. You gotta handle turn.
I'm gonna turn myself.
Yep.
There you go. Right? Hold on. It's currently a face, although AEW only loosely enforces what. Hi, Henway. Hi, Ashley. Jerry Lynn. Oh, God. Josh Alexander and Mike Bailey already happened in TNA. So, here's Shibata. Visible Star. Well, I'm gonna sort this a little bit more logically. Perception. Recognizable. Let's see. Let's do this. Lance Archer. Lee Moriarty. Lee Moriarty is not a bad shout. Leo Rush. Mansoor. Mark Davis. Mason Matt. Wait. Hold on. Mansoor works... Okay, no. They both work heel. I was about to say. I thought that I saw fucking, thought that I saw that, like, Mansoor works face. No. You're gonna have him face Nick Wayne. Powerhouse Hobbs. QC Marshall. Romero. How's Rocky Romero? All yellow. Okay. Got it. Let's see here. Remy Soho. Stokely.
Hello, Mario.
Beast Mortos isn't a bad shout. You know what? I'm doing it. I'm doing it. A dude named Tracy with the Long Boys, Girls, NBs, and AGs, and Zepp as well joining us this evening. Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Long Boy Club meeting, where we hem and haw over what to do with AEW and TNA. For those of you who are unaware, my name is GirafaStev. I'm the president of the Long Boy Club,
Mario.
the enjoyer of gaming, wrestling.
Hello, Mario.
Mike Bailey and the Black Taurus, or really the Beast Mortos. Oh, sorry about that. And my stinky cat and dog. Well, cats and dog. Now, Tracy, what were you doing over on your end? It's really, really nice to see you, my man. It's been a while since I have seen you. Hopefully you've been doing well. And hi, Dan. How are you doing? Let's see here. You know what? I'm just gonna put Mike up again. No, I know what I'm gonna do. Roosh, the Beast Mortos, and Jurlistico. I'm just gonna have him go up against Las Faction and Gobernables.
He's gonna fight the whole damn LFG.
However, this is where I kind of, bring in like a tag partner as well. I don't know if it's going to be Kevin Knight, right? But I would like to give him, I want to give him a friend.
Maybe you can turn Luchasaurus so that he has a
So we have a big man, little man dynamic.
Yeah.
It's a regular zoo over at the Stev household. It is. Very much is. I watched some wrestling. Ooh. What kind? I recently finished watching a new season of King of the Hill. Is it weird to be proud of how a fictional character has grown from a boy to a man? I've heard great things about the new season
Mario.
of King of the Hill. TW stream. Wow. Willow, how are you, my friend? Not Willow Nightingale, but Willow Awesome Willow. How are you doing? Welcome to tonight's Long Boy Club meeting. LFI. LFI begins to target Mike Bailey, who recently signed a deal with AEW. My biggest obstacle when playing this game is going to be my poor typing ability.
Typing of the dead, but with wrestler pictures.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But I find it shocking that Hank Hill likes soccer now. Yeah, he seems like that he would absolutely just not enjoy soccer. Like most Americans. I'm most Americans. Mike Bailey would use a crew.
Tried to get into soccer, and
crew even. Well, either that or Top Flight. I feel like Mike Bailey and Top Flight would go insanely hard. Tasked with taking... Saudi Arabia made Hank Hill appreciate soccer. Didn't Saudi Arabia, like, work into the plot a little bit? I'm unfamiliar with how King of the Hill originally ended. On his own. Can he do it? That right there's the baseline. This is also going to kind of act as, like, a big feud for the Beast Mortos, because the Beast Mortos is great, and I would like for him to have more things. Now! I'm going to do a little something here that might be kind of shocking. We need to take the TBS title off of Mercedes. We gotta take it off of her. Because she already has enough titles, for one thing. And two, Willow Nightingale. Mercedes Moné versus Willow Nightingale. After palling around on Collision for months on end. Many are saying this about the Beast, as they should, because the Beast Mortos is amazing. The Hills moved to Saudi Arabia during the time skip, but then Hank and Peggy retired and returned to Arlen. Though it hasn't quite been explained yet why Hank left Strickland Propane. Maybe they'll do that in another season. For months. Willow Nightingale. Nightingale. Plays as a centerpiece of the women's division. By dethroning. I also think Mercedes is a big enough star to where she doesn't need the title, you know?
Especially what's supposed to be a mid-card championship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she should be going up against, like, Toni Storm and...
Yeah, exactly.
Shirakawa and...
In fact,
I guess Chris Statlander now.
In fact... Yeah, like, Chris Statlander won the belt at the last pay-per-view. Did you see the promo that she had with Toni Storm on last week's Collision?
I did not.
It was very homoerotic. I loved it a lot.
I did hear that, but basically, Toni Storm's entire gimmick at this point is less about the Hollywood starlet angle and more about just comical amounts of lesbianism.
Yes, she's so queer. She's here and she is queer. She said it herself. And we love that about her.
Mm-hmm.
We absolutely love that about her. Any female. I am going to... Wait. Hold on. Nyla, where are you? You're not on the main roster. You are Ring of Honor exclusive. Not for long, though. Unfortunately, I'm not going to give her a belt, but I'm going to give her, like, a month-long program with Toni Storm on TV.
Yeah.
Nyla and Ring of Honor Hell. Request call-up. You can only access this section viewing the roster of a company that you currently run. Recall. This recalls Nyla Rose to the main roster. This informs ROH they intend to recall Nyla Rose in the near future. She'll be booked to lose any title she holds ASAP, and will not win new titles in the meantime. Well, listen. Why can't she work both of them? Can she not work both of them?
I don't think the game allows that.
No, it does. It does. There are people that
maybe it
work
does.
for both AEW and Ring of Honor. I only have 2 criticisms about the new season. Some of the plot lines in the season feel a little rushed, and Khan's new voice actor barely sounds like Toby Huss's Khan. Well, all the VAs are old or either dead now, unfortunately, so... That is the, that's the rub. No, I need to be able to... You currently run. I do. No, I do. Oh, wait. Change CEO. What the f... Okay. Close down. No, I'm not closing them down. What about the titles? Survival of the Fittest. ROH. Women's title. He's held that shit for 905 days at this point. Red Velvet with the Women's World TV title. McQueen. Oh, Von Erichs. I may call them up too at some point because I just enjoy the idea of them being on AEW. He works for Ring of Honor. Yeah, like Action Andretti works for both AEW and Ring of Honor at the same time. Same with Anthony Ogogo, even though I can't remember the last time he was on AEW TV. Well, that's just incorrect. Take? What do you mean, take? Moving him onto the main roster.
I guess that's what the difference in between recall and take is that.
Wait, what is recall? Hold on. Moving him onto the main roster. He will leave the Ring of Honor roster immediately. What? These are the same descriptions, though.
Maybe it has to do with contract status, like if one of them has like a specific.
Let me see here.
Or it's the fact that Nyla has a written contract and Beef has a handshake deal.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. Okay. I'm sorry, Dan. I'm incredibly in the weeds of booking right now. I will say, I would like to watch the new King of the Hill season. I would like to watch many things. It's gonna take me at least like 5 years, though, because it usually does. Fuck it. Nyla's too good to be on Ring of Honor anyways. I'm calling her up right now. And she's gonna go into a feud immediately with Toni Storm.
Just have her come right in and just immediately wreck shit.
Yes, immediately just take out Toni Storm in a shocking display. Looks to make an impact by this title ahead of All In. I'll need to make a program for her, like, you know, going into that show as well. Maybe against Chris Statlander.
Yeah.
Nyla Rose versus Toni Storm. Yeah. Cool. And because I can actually book whatever I want, and I would like
it's
to have
almost
more
time
than
for a
2
2-minute
women's feuds.
Cheetos break, my dudes.
You know, particularly ones that aren't about a belt. I'm going to make one that's not with a belt.
I sell Cheetos and Cheetos accessories.
That you do, my friend. That you do. Wait, Rio has a broken arm? Okay. Shayna Wayne, Sky Blue, Ty Mello, Thunder Rosa. I would like for, like, a feud that doesn't involve a title. Deonna Purrazzo versus... Yeah, Shirakawa's not a bad shout. In fact, is it?
Oh, that would go hard. That would go
Diana
hard.
Purrazzo versus wait, who did I have?
You said Shirakawa.
Yeah. Shirakawa. Sorry. I'm shocked that Rhea Ripley is only a few years younger than me. She's like shockingly like still has a lot of career left in her. I don't think she's even like 30 years old at this point. If she remains healthy, then she has a very long career still ahead of her. You require at least 2 storylines rated hot or above.
Well, I mean, you can't get storylines to hot momentum without like actually doing them.
Is warnings regarding penalties. Currently eligible for a penalty at each SOFR live event experience, as at least one rival is using a higher level up licensed music. Well, major licensed. Dude, Europe is major licensed. That shit costs like $5,000 every time we use it.
But it's a one-hit wonder, so they don't charge as much as fucking Metallica.
Yeah, and Europe has been eating good off of that one-hit wonder for decades.
Yeah. Although, ironically, they were not actually a one-hit wonder. That's just the one song of theirs anyone remembers.
Well, yeah, I mean, I imagine that they're probably bigger in their home country. Yeah?
No, I don't think I'm pretty sure they're American. They actually had, but they did have other hits.
Hold on, I'm going to,
Oh, no, they're Swedish.
They're Swedish?
They're Swedish.
Wow. I want to, like, make it
three top 30s. Final Countdown, Rock the Night, and Carrie.
Probably only big in their home country, though. Or, like, over in Europe.
What was?
Dinga Dinga Durgeon.
Where's the chart performance? Okay.
I'll have.
Yeah, lots of number 1s and number 2s and on the Swedish charts.
I'm going to put. Actually, no, you know what? I don't need to do that. Broadcasting. Sorry, I get really in the weeds on this bullshit. Hey, we're on HBO Max. Cool. Is for events, is to be shown on demand. TV shows. Oh. Oh! Okay.
I make a massive number 2 after too many Swedish meatballs.
You don't need to announce that to the class now. Homunculus. That's fine. Who's on my booking team? This is the craziest booking team of all time. I cannot move my stuff, Patch. Sorry. What if I alter the booking team? Wait, Bandito has booking experience?
Yeah, he was pretty big in, I think, CMLL before he started moving to the US.
Oh. Okay.
It's almost time for a 2-minute Cheetos break, my dudes.
I gotta put Tony Khan on the team. Yeah, there you go. Now we have a full creative team. Khan is on a prohibitionary period. What? He's on probation? From his own company?
How is the owner on probation?
How the fuck is the owner on probation from his own fucking company? That's right, I'm on probation! For 9 days! Alright.
It's break
Running
time.
ad.
Where the heck's the Cheetos, my dudes?
AEW...
Dynamite
goes
blows
all
up in your
out.
face after this.
Yeah, AEW goes all in after this.
The cinema scenes of Ninja Gaiden 2? Now that's a good cinema scene.
That's the best fucking one out of all of these. It's just 22 seconds again. But it's just him talking about the cutscene in Ninja Gaiden 2. How, like, that's a good cinema scene, and then it's over.
Is that just all of the stuff they had, or
It was like a
for
weird...
that video? It's lost media, or what the fuck?
I don't know. It's intro, and then he's like, the cinema scene in Ninja Gaiden 2? Now that's a good cinema scene. And then it's it. That's it. That's the whole thing. It's like less than 5 seconds of an actual video. The opening and the ending were both individually longer than the actual thing. And now we have to be here for another minute. Because usually I don't like to make big like decisions while I'm waiting for, you know, while I'm waiting for us to come back. No, Mia Shirakawa and goddamn Deonna Purrazzo. Yes. And remember when everyone wanted to see Britt Baker versus Deonna Purrazzo? And then it happened, and then people didn't like it. Deonna Purrazzo versus Shirakawa.
Nom nom. Oh, excuse me, we're back, my dudes.
And welcome back to Raw. I just like this as the idea. I'll work out the logistics of it later.
Yeah. I mean, really,
Can I, like, have a mildly positive opinion of each other, but we need to get that up.
Yep.
I'm gonna send you money. Here.
Arts.
Here. I'll give you a cash bonus
Of $1 million.
Wait, can I?
I think it just needs to be numbers.
0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Here. Take $1 million. The company became fearful for his life. Jack Perry walked up to me, and I was scared out of my britches. There. I sent you money. So I went on vacation for 9 days. I'm gonna go on the indies here real fast. And I'm going to see if there's any, like, women I can sign. Are they... Hold on. Works for... You know what? Any. Yes, give me any. Why did we let Abaddon go?
Yeah.
I need to rectify that. Get back over here, Abaddon. That's fine. That's okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead and give you 20% of merch. Hey, let me. Not cover green travel cost. I expect around 6,000 for the fact I won't be able to get pay raises.
That's an extra $300 a month. That's not even a...
Yeah, that's fine. We got that We got that con coin here. We can do it. There.
The coin with a KH.
Con coin. I like that. Hold on. I also need to make it so they can work in the USA. Because that's where...
Although, I mean, I've had pretty good luck with just telling people, or like going to talk to the worker and just...
A lot of the time, if you just ask them, hey, hey, can you work in the USA? They'll just be like, okay, cool. And then they'll do it.
Yep.
I could sign AJ.
Sign AJ Lee.
Hey, AJ. About career. How about you coming out of retirement? I don't think I have another run in me. What about color commentary? How are you on that? You know what would be funny? If I signed her and put her on commentary on Collision.
I am so glad that this game is not real life because the chance would be just horrific. The chance would be so bad.
Light it up. Be exclusively a color commentator. Never involve in ring work. I'll give you 20% extra. Listen, I just think it would be funny.
Yes. It would be deeply funny.
Amy Rose! Not that one. But this one, which I never heard of.
Does not seem like someone that...
Doesn't specialize in hammers, I think.
No.
She's also not pink, and she's also not a hedgehog, so I don't care. Barbie Kelly? Hold on. Does she even have anything to offer? Always
Probably
hustling.
Not.
Hello, Mario.
Have no fear, Amy Rose is here. Yeah, you said it, brother. Beth Phoenix isn't signed anywhere? That's whenever you move your mouse, it moves mine. Sorry. BFAB. Bianca Belair. I think Beth Phoenix could, like, do good business. But, like... I just signed fucking AJ Lee out of spite. So... That being said... Beth Phoenix could probably be, like, a good measuring stick. You know? She's got, like, good psychology, but she doesn't really have a lot to offer in ring, it looks like.
Yeah, she's pretty washed.
Okay, well,
Which makes sense.
I'll rethink that, then. Big Mama? Unwilling or unable to negotiate. She does not want to work for Tony Khan. I remember why she doesn't want to work for me. Well, you wouldn't be working for Tony, you'd be working for Germa. Well, no, not really. You would be, Wait, what? Okay. Randy Rhodes has left the wrestling business. Yeah, that's right. Brittany Blank. Or Blake. That's Bull Nakano? Amy Rose is all elite.
She became a golfer after she,
That's crazy. Known for her crazy straight-up standing hair. Yeah, you said it. Andy Lee. Amy Rose is all elite would be fucking nuts. Media push. Let's see. Harley Morgan. I want to see who's not signed anywhere right now. Like, who's the hottest free agent right now that's not Beth Phoenix or Abaddon? Because we know that Abaddon's hot anywhere. And AJ Mendez, because I just made the offer. Elite? Oh, okay. Allison Danger. Allison K. Why does that sound familiar?
He was in TNA at one point, I think.
Okay. Yeah, Lita's definitely washed as well. I don't think so. Angelina Love. AQA. Let's see. Awesome Kong is retired. That makes sense. How's her health?
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. You can stay retired. B. Priestley? I think with a bit of work, B. Priestley could do like good business.
She just kind of got lost in the shuffle everywhere she went.
Well, hopefully if I sign her, that wouldn't happen a third time, because that's unfortunate. Well, hold on.
She was one of like the earliest
She was like one of the first women that
AEW signed.
Has a major negative. Okay, no, never mind. I'm not gonna sign that. I'm not gonna sign someone that's gonna be like a big detriment to the locker room. Dixie Carter.
Dakota Kai is probably available.
Is Dakota Kai available? She is! Okay, well, hold on. Unwilling or unable to... Oh! I can't sign her yet because of
Yeah, because she's still on her 90 days.
We could do Eva Marie. No.
Classic.
Dia Scott. Jillian Jacobs.
Wendy Adon.
It's crazy. What? Holly dead.
One half of the Twisted Sisters alongside Thunder Rosa.
What? Where do we see that? Hold on. Personal details. Yeah, okay. A protege of Gangrel? That's crazy. I'm still baffled that Dakota got released. I kind of am too. Because she was always kind of, at least ever since the fucking Damage Control, she was like pretty constant as a presence on TV. JoJo Offerman. I know that she's not a wrestler, but
yeah, she was kind of a announcer type person.
Mm-hmm. Caitlyn. Okay, yeah, this is like WWE Caitlyn. I wish this game had cracked AI that literally killed people in the ring. Oh, you want that Gira type beat coming back? I want it too, honestly. Let's see. Lee.
Back to M. Dickey.
It always goes back to M. Dickey. Lacey Von Erich is a retired wrestler. Does she have like anything to offer? Yeah, she could still do something.
Apparently, sure. I don't know if that's just your scouting being shit, but that's high tier if she's.
Let's see. I don't think I have another run in me. It's very hard to like convince people to come out of retirement, I've noticed.
Mm-hmm.
It is very hard to get them to come out of retirement. I didn't even know Layla Hirsch was not in AEW anymore. Maurice? That'd be funny. ODB. Rain? Roxy. Sexy Star. By the way, Peacemaker Season 2 is pretty damn good. I heard. The thing about something like the second season for me, though, is I've seen clips and I'm just like, you know, I don't know if I'm in, like, the frame of mind to, like, be able to... And it's a little bit weird to say this considering, you know, it's the John Cena show. But it's also just, like, it deals with, like, a lot of, like, oddly timely subject matter. And I'm not sure if I'm able to, like, stomach it in the current climate. So, that may have to be another wait, like, a couple years until I watch it, for sure. Wait, Stephanie McMahon's a free agent? Oh, that'd be so funny. Can I? is a terrible idea. Of course you would say that, Mox.
Wow.
To be fair, I think that he's onto something. Sonya Deville. Negotiate.
I was gonna say, if you don't sign her, I am.
Well, who am I to stand in TNA's way?
I was gonna look for either her or
Shotzi Blackheart. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, Shotzi's is a good choice for AEW, I think.
I think she could do good business.
Mm-hmm.
We'll send it out there. 3-year contract. Get all elites. Okay, there we go. I think that's enough for me. There.
All right.
You go.
Okay, companies or office.
If you want to sign someone, you gotta
When
go
is
to
my
Workers.
next? When is my next show?
Your next show is you gotta go to events and TV.
TV is scheduled to be TNA Explosion in 3 days.
That's probably gonna be Tate before Impact. So
yeah,
you may want to check to see like how many shows you need to like, you know, book at a time, because there'll be times where like some of these companies are like, oh well, we tape like 2 episodes of shows, and you can check.
Oh
that
yeah,
by going to modify
I would
this
be
TV show. Tape
okay.
4 episodes at a time. Wow.
So we're
Holy
gonna have to be thinking really fucking deep about that.
Either that, or you can just modify it to where it's like 2 every time. So
yeah.
Although it's TNA's money, I mean, I sent you a cash injection.
Yeah.
Do you want $1 million?
Yes.
Here, take $1 million. We got
And
that
I
con
want
coin.
to. So let's see, booked for Explosion or. I mean, Explosion,
That's
there's no real
pre-booking.
point. It's B shows.
It's B shows, but it's also like good places to like just get some extra free cash and to develop your guys a bit more.
Unemployed, gender identity, any female.
That's any sexuality from them, so.
Yeah.
I am really excited to hear back from AJ Mendez, I'm not even gonna lie.
Valentina Ferros. That was it.
I'm so excited to hear back from her. It'll be so funny when she signs.
And I
Neil
could
Dashwood.
bring back to Neil Dashwood. Shayna Baszler. This is the one I was unable or until legal reasons until the end of next month.
Sonya Deville, however, not burdened by such things.
Yep.
Ring contract, I guess. Exclusive. Okay.
Yeah, written contract per month.
You can expect a bonus of fucking nothing. For 3 years.
Like, DeVille 100% could be like a big fucking deal.
And
then a lot of these are kind of, you have a lot of.
I didn't know that Savannah Evans wasn't signed anywhere.
Yeah, she kind of existed for a while, but.
Is there a reason why?
I guess that they just didn't think she was all that good. Like, she was green. She was kind of a proto Jade Cargill.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we have a lot like of Japan here.
Yeah, a lot of Japan. Young, Dumb, and Broke. GCW has decided to disband a stable.
SG Cunt?
Yeah.
That's incredible. It is being reported that Megan Bain is going to be joining Deathmatch Royal. I was done reading that. Go back. According to sources with GCW, the stable's new lineup will be debuting very soon. Oh, it's a new faction? Okay.
Yeah. Mance Warner will be taking a leadership role.
That's insane. I gotta check that out. Wow.
In GanPro news, there's Ganbare Pro Wrestling. Member of United Japan, which he has the Cyberfight promotions.
Mm-hmm. Matt Riddle to begin new feud. Oh, no, MLW. Okay.
With reality?
A feud with God, who can it be this time? Oh, had Pats or old Matt Riddle.
Company or office. Now we have $2-something million. And investments.
Don't you have like
Invest in a new training facility.
that's a lot of money. But I did give you $1 million, so
yeah, that would be a different goal at some point. Because I always like building stuff like that. Top 100 events. Contract overview is, I don't think there's anything like super special for that. We're going to, yeah, I need to start pre-booking some stuff.
I just save all my booking for like the show itself, unless I'm really holding to something.
Sometimes you get bonuses for oh, I think you turn that off. But yeah, for me, it's just easier to think about it in advance, but it's difficult for, it's a little bit difficult if we're going to be taping a month's worth of shows at a time.
Well, you can change that if you want. You just got to go to events and TV
just
and
to try to
shows.
Think about like where is all of it? Events and TV.
Remember, you got $1 million in Concoin. You got some wiggle room.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that just because I cannot, like, if I was we're gonna tape 2 at a time.
I think 2 shows is a reasonable one. So
yeah,
but make sure that that's also 2.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
30 minutes? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's just like a little
side thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Well. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
And of course, that allows us to not have to tape like before Against All Odds. Because that would be fucking wild. So it's like, okay, we've got 2 sets of we're going to book through the Go Home Impact, and then and then Against All Odds, and then we do the next batch. That way nobody gets super fatigued from having to wrestle like 4 matches in a night.
Exactly.
And I don't think there's anything else I have to do. I thought about, because I didn't really sign anybody.
Well, you tried to sign.
I tried to sign some people, but like.
Yeah, set it back to normal.
Yeah, I'm not really.
There's honestly quite a bit of room to grow here.
Yeah. I don't want too bloated of a roster, because I feel like if I
then you'll have my problem.
Then I'll have your problem. And that just makes my executive functioning go bzz.
Exactly. Like I have to battle that as well. But you also have Eddie Colon right there for some reason. That's insane. Using like his mid 2010s portrait
until end of October. I'm also going to do booking team.
Delirious?
Booking team. Yeah, Delirious was the why the fuck is Lance Storm not on the booking team?
Yeah, that's a good question. Laredo Booker? Okay.
This is Laredo Kid, right?
Yeah, that's Laredo. Yeah, that's Laredo.
But he's not a fucking kid anymore.
Sammy
Likely to have a
Callahan.
personality clash with Yoshihiko.
He fucking hates you.
Yep.
There you go. There's your booking team, I suppose.
Yeah. And then I'm going to
please, God.
Let's see. We need a storyline for Yoshihiko.
Is that gonna be like your comedy storyline or something?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Please.
Who does let's do minimum skills. Where's let me see. Is there a in disposition, roll, perception?
Right on the gimmick.
It just has or does not have. Style. I guess we're just gonna have to fucking raw dog it, I guess. I don't know. Attributes, can't play comedy and poor comedy matches. Does not mention Alpha Bravo, noted comedy match performer.
Well, there's your I think that's your feud right there.
Maybe. Can't play comedy. Gujar, who's yeah, he's brand new. He's in he does a lot of work in MLP, and he's not bad, but he's green. He's brand new.
See when you say MLP, that fucks with my brain.
Yeah, I know.
because I'm like, which one?
Yeah. Brian Myers, but he's in the system, which that's a whole other thing.
The only person on Earth
Chris
that has
Bay
this
issue. Chris Bay, only God knows when he's coming back.
Out injured, broken neck. I mean, the game doesn't even give you a time frame. They're just like, yeah, he's not here. What are you gonna do about it? Daniel Spencer, Cody Deaner,
referee.
Noted comedy match performer.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think that's your feud right there.
That's your feud. Cody Deaner versus Yoshihiko.
That's awesome. Do it. Do it. Absolutely do it. Yoshihiko versus Deaner.
Hello, Mario.
Hi, Soul. How are you doing tonight? Welcome to tonight's Long Play Club meeting. My new boss is a blow-up doll. We're busy booking TNA and AEW in a Total Extreme Wrestling right now, and we have quite the platter of storylines here in TNA, which is now run by a blow-up doll. Thanks
Slightly
to my
more
friend
competent than the
Patchworkheart.
Owl, because I didn't fucking sign Tessa Blanchard.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna bury her, so.
Yep, we're gonna have to figure out a way to bury her ass. Is she at least a fucking heel?
She is a heel, yes.
Thank Christ.
She did return for some fucking reason, and now you will make sure that she leaves in pieces.
Yeah, we'll find somebody to put. Maybe when Giselle Shaw gets here, she's basically just gonna be jobbing on fucking Explosion until the end of her contract. If she wants to whine about it, she can leave without.
It's almost time for a 2-minute Cheetos break, my dudes.
Fucking the rest of her contract off.
Are you done then?
Sounds like a fucking you problem.
That does sound like a you problem.
And I don't think there's anything else I need to do. I've got.
Great, because we need to run an ad. Hold on.
All right.
Because we gotta run an ad right quick.
It's break time. Where the heck's the Cheetos, my dudes?
On after this. I am desperate
Imagine a skateboard without
to
wheels
get goddamn
and used as a single ski
AJ
board.
Mendez
That's
on the
concept
commentary
behind
team.
Cool
That'd be
Borders.
so funny.
The graphics look great in still frames, but they're a
I
disappointment
don't know
in real
how
time.
that, like,
Also
AJ
disappointing
has
is the play
actually
control.
done
The
commentary
high
on
speed and challenge of the
WWE
game
programming
make it
before,
difficult to navigate the courses, even with the hard turn
and
buttons.
it didn't
Jumping
go
is also
poorly.
awkward. It feels
It
delayed.
didn't
Oh,
go
yeah, that-
poorly,
held back.
but
As in many
That's
other
my
she
player
kind of
on
has
Xbox
a
right now.
she has a very similar commentary style to Punk.
No pun intended.
Okay.
The main goal
Like,
is not
even
simply
before they got
surviving the
together.
levels, but beating a certain time set previously by a fictional player. This takes away from just being able to have fun, and that announcer...
Incredible minds think alike, I
Somebody
guess.
shoot that dweeb. He's one of those guys with slow motion syntax and overdrawn emotions, saying things like, "Way cool, man. Totally rockin', man.
This
Whoa,
game is
I thought you were history.
absolutely
And are you tripping
just
out or what?"
having a fit
Sometimes
right
you
now.
wish the goal of the game were to hunt that wiener down and kill him.
George Wood wants to commit manslaughter, chat. I'll just leave it at that.
Was that Snowboard Kids or?
Yeah, that was Cool Borders.
Oh, the original.
Yeah, that was Cool
I had
Borders.
Cool Borders 4 on PS1. That was one of my first PS1 games. That shit was pretty good.
The PlayStation had four Cool Borders games? That's crazy.
Yep.
I thought it
And
only
then
had
Cool
the
Borders
3.
2001 on the PS5, and then it stopped.
On the PS5?
Or the PS2.
I was about to say, how do you have a 2001
It is very
game on
late.
PS5? I was about to say, it's very late and we haven't even booked a show yet. We haven't booked a single show.
We've basically been running a podcast.
This right here is the TEW
Nom nom nom.
experience.
Oh, excuse me, we're back, my dudes.
Hey, welcome back to Raw. We're gonna fucking try to run a show here. Drolistico
It's
body
Tuesday.
type change. It's Tuesday, innit? Oh, we actually have house show stuff. Okay. WC Pro have made a contract offer to Excalibur.
WC Pro?
I don't know.
What the fuck is WC Pro?
I don't know, but I'm gonna re-up his contract.
To
because-
exclusive? Because I know they're not, like, paying him to be his primary employer.
Probably not exclusive, but I am gonna re-up it so that
Yeah, because he's
here
almost...
for
Yeah.
5 more years. We'll be able to get pay raises. What? Okay. You know what, Excalibur? My mistake. You're the voice of AEW, so, you know, that makes sense. Unless a better offer comes my way in the near future. Trust me, bud, it ain't.
Oh, definitely not.
It will not. So, Drolistico went from tone to muscular. He is... What kind... What are his skills?
Oh, he was
Very
part of the
big
Pit
flashiness. The Pit Bulls? Hold on.
Or
Personal details. With Dragon
sibling
Lee.
of Dragon Lee and Rush, yeah.
Roosh, yeah. He is a sibling of Roosh? Okay, no wonder they're in a faction together then. Alpha Cat. Alpha
Rest in peace,
Academy.
Pero.
What?
Rest in peace, Pero Aguayo.
Alpha Academy, the staple in WWE, is being broken up according to the rumor mill. Apparently, the group is felt to have served its purpose and will be disbanded in favor of a recent creative for a different creative direction. They weren't broken up yet? It's been 10 years. What do you mean?
Alpha Academy?
Yes, look at this. Alpha Academy disbanded. They were like 10 years late to the jump there.
I mean,
That's crazy.
wasn't Alpha Academy the one with Otis and Maxine Dupree and Tozawa?
Oh, I'm thinking of American Alpha. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Jason Jordan got hurt, so that's...
Oh, no. I caught a glimpse of CM Punk out injured. I don't think he's coming back from this one.
broken.
CM Punk has been injured picking up a broken neck during a match last night. For over
Surely
a year.
the most appropriate ending.
Dude. No. Wait, can I? I don't even think that he would want to, like, prolong.
Almost definitely not.
What are his personal details? I need to see this.
Mutual loathing with Colt Cabana, openly hostile towards Adam Page, friendship with Andrade, friendship with Bailey, openly hostile towards Bobby Fish, has strong dislike.
Booker T, openly hostile towards Brandon Cutler, openly hostile towards Brian Alvarez, deep friendship with Wheeler, strong dislike of Chris Jericho, Dax Harwood, Doc Gallows, strong dislike of Eddie Kingston. He has a hatred of Elijah Burke. He has a hatred of Jack Perry, Crimea River. Openly hostile towards many people here. Strong dislike of Kenny Omega. A deep friendship with Kofi Kingston. Openly hostile towards the Young Bucks. Openly hostile towards Ryan Nemeth. Mutual loathing of Ryback. Strong dislike of Seth Rollins. Mutual respect for Shawn Michaels. He is openly hostile towards Tony Khan. Hatred of Vince McMahon. Openly hostile towards Violet J. Dude, he has more hatreds than he does likes. What the fuck? He has, like, no friends now. Although Andrade El Idolo is there, so... Is Andrade still with WWE in this save? I'm pretty sure he is.
Almost definitely.
Dude, that sucks ass. Who did he... Oh no. He injured himself in a tag match? No way. Come on. Let's see.
And it got an 87.
87. You know, Punk should have known better than to have a match like this at his age. Win a match by DQ for the Intercontinental Championship. Aw. Man, okay. Let's see here. Yeah, that's about it. I don't know, at this point I'm waiting for, Rick Steiner to retire. He wasn't retired already? I remember that the last time I played Wrestling Empire, I put Vince into 5 straight hardcore handicap matches in one night. Good times. You know, that sure reminds me of, like, when a New Legacy put, like, The Undertaker in 5, like, just completely bonkers matches in one night because he asked for a pay raise. Or he would hold up the show. Okay. Are you good for the time being then, too?
I think so. Other than, I just wanted to double check the headlines, and I'm not seeing anything that's useful for me. So yeah.
To be fair, I think that putting Vince in 5 matches where he just gets utterly beat up for the whole night is based as hell. Was he in the main event, or was it all the undercard?
Yeah, I didn't have any choices to make, which means that Giselle Shaw and Nyla Rose and Sonya Deville haven't gotten back to me yet.
I need AJ Lee to come and work for AEW.
AJW.
AJW. The main event was a 4 versus 1 chainsaws match. What? That does sound like a fucking Wrestling Empire matchup right there. Yeah, the game does that sometimes. It needs to load up all the JPEGs. Give it just a second.
We gotta load the JPEGs in the truck.
Alright, please. Yes! Yes! It's been accepted. Let's go. Go to the main roster. AJ, please, why haven't you returned my calls?
You're AJ. I wrote to you, but you still ain't calling.
I was about to say. I sent pics, please respond. WWE sent out a press release last night celebrating the fact they have struck a deal with Match to begin showing WWE Raw. The deal expands show coverage, allowing even more fans to see it. Okay, well... Wait, the main event... Oh, they signed, like, new TV deals. Okay.
Yeah. Lots of
Speaking
CMLL.
Arena Mexico.
AJPW, Stables.
AJPW perseveres somehow.
I mean, I've known some fairly decent stuff, like...
I mean, that's not necessarily like a... I mean, I'm not knocking their quality. I'm saying that, like, they somehow survived, like, all these years, even though they've went through many, many, many changes.
They have.
More changes than TNA, probably.
They're definitely not the... They're definitely not the world beater company that they were before Baba died.
Yeah. They're like TNA.
Yep.
In a way. They're in a... Wait, where can we... Can we show... Hold on. Because I want to show Collision, like, in more areas. God damn it. This right here is what I was worried was going to happen. I'm just going to get way into the weeds of this bullshit. Collision. View all broadcasters. We'll negotiate. Yes. Because I would like to get Collision in Japan. That way I actually can watch it and chat. In Japan. Where does AEW show?
Thriller.
On Triller.
You...
shows. A terrestrial channel that is viewed in several places, it looks like. YouTube Japan, a commercial channel owned by them. Owned by Alphabet Incorporated. That is not what Google's thing is, right?
It is.
It is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Alright. That's all the requirements. Okay, it's an internet subscription service. J Sports. Okay, what if it's like J Sports? Wait, can I? No way. Dude. Please. Oh, goodness gracious, please. Hold on. New deal for it. We're not willing to offer you the time slot. Oh, that's so good. That's so cool. Dude, I'm on the same place as goddamn main event. That's awesome. What daytime? No. Late evening. What about prime time? Absolutely not. Late evening is fine. I have to pay $10,000 per show in this deal? Why am I paying that much? How far can I make this go? Would expect you to offer financial incentive to make up for it. Just didn't... Wait, hold on. I can't believe the TNA vs NXT show just didn't have Joe Hendry on it at all. My poor guy is really just not going to get anything anymore. Why would they not put him on? He's literally the face of TNA right now. That's an insane fumble.
Because TNA management is fucking stupid and don't have any self-respect.
They don't have respect for themselves. Wait, is Dynamite shown in Japan anywhere?
It doesn't look like it.
Let me see here. Broadcasting. Your coverage. We have a bit of stuff there.
Oh, New Japan World, I guess it's on New Japan World.
On Dynamite? Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that's... So we're on the internet subscription service. But what about, is Dynamite shown on like just any like normal channel?
It doesn't seem like it.
Because then I can double dip a little. Toonami? Like that Toonami?
Yeah.
That Toonami. Okay.
It says it's a separate network.
What? I didn't know that. I thought that was just a programming block on goddamn on Adult Swim. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. Commercial channel owned by them. New Japan Pro Wrestling. TV. I'm putting that, given that AEW Dynamite. How would I need to pay for this deal, though? Asking for any exclusive rights to footage. Okay, but like prime time, how about that? Not be going head to head with any other shows. How much money are you willing to offer me? That much. I can do that. Yeah, baby. Okay, cool. Real talk, it's Santana as the face of the company. I will say that he's over as hell, but I'm still sad about Henry. Oh. Well, is Santana still there? Rather, like, is he like involved like heavily in the invasion angle, I suppose? So wait, will New Japan not negotiate with me? That passed all the requirements. Well, what requirements are owned by another company? Negotiations automatic. Well, why am I on here then? Why the fuck am I on here then if like if it's a thing where it's like, oh well, you can't do that. Bitch, I am. I'm doing it right now. Whatever. We're going to... Well, first off, I'm going to make a couple notes here. Let me go to my roster page. Write down notes. Diana Perazzo. Creative. Idea. Mike Bailey.
Hello, Mario.
Storyline idea, because I would like to get, you know, both of these characters off, you know, like, hitting the ground running. Wait. Nyla Rose. Angle. Those are like creative meeting notes. Okay, I think we're good. I guess play? Even though I thought that I was supposed to book first. You good, Patch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh wait, no, I gotta select.
Oh, she got back to you!
Yes. Alright, so now I have a storyline to build.
Wait. Make sure that she's on your roster because you cleared it without without formally accepting.
Yeah.
58.
Giselle Shaw
Is
preparing to debut a quintessential diva gimmick. So we need to find a
Giselle Shaw.
As I'm guessing, let's see.
There she is.
Works heel. Attributes better as heel. And so I need a face that she can work against. Who is a good face that she can work against? We're kind of low on faces in the...
Yeah.
There's Myla Grace. That is...
Nikita Lyons.
Well, Nikita Lyons is going to be gone the moment the...
we'll just check. We'll check to see what she works. Yeah, there you go.
Face. You can at least give her a quick feud just to get her over real quick before an NXT worker.
Yeah.
So I will just.
You can just have Giselle go out there and squash Lions if you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'll just pre-book that for. I'll just pre-book that for.
Santino was in the 4v4 NXT versus TNA match back on Tuesday, so yeah, he's still kind of in it. Okay. Oh, shows what I missed. I'm spreading misinformation on the internet, and Hendry was the ref. Oh, okay. Okay.
Actually,
wait, save. You needed to save. Oh, you booked for the wrong show. Okay.
Yeah, I think this is gonna go on Impact.
Yeah, I was about to say.
This is gonna go on Impact. That's a pretty big
spreading misinformation on the internet.
We're gonna say I'm not gonna worry about that right now. Domination, Giselle Shaw.
Nikita Lyons is probably gonna be upset about that. Oh no, okay. Cool.
I mean, she's gonna be gone in like a week, so.
About to say, so doesn't really matter.
Sure, Trick Williams is still. Yeah. See, yeah. So that's about what I can do right now. So I guess we're gonna do the first episode of Dynamite and then
call it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny that we went this whole time without fucking doing any shows.
That's what we do every time.
Yes. We just fucking talk about shit. I'm going to... I love how it's just the Costco logo. Sanjay Dutt is only a manager. Okay. Shelton Benjamin. What does he work as? Better as heel. Okay. I don't really want to give anybody the night off. What if I want to use, I don't know, Red Velvet tonight? Okay, so what? Hold on. How many fans are? These are like TNA numbers. What? All right. Well, we need to run a venue that is kind of our size. And out of curiosity, if we decide to run somewhere that's not the US, what are we gonna draw? So it seems like we'll draw like at least semi-respectable numbers wherever we go. That's good. Canada. If we run shows in Canada, that'll be pretty okay. Seems like they really want him considering how much he's been on NXT since the TNA partnership was announced. Oh, they want him really fucking bad, yes. That does not surprise me at all. We're even big in India. Wow. But no, we're gonna go to the Great Lakes region. And, let's see where we can go here. We're expecting about in the ballpark of like 1 to 3,000. Well, 1,000 to 2,500. So let's kind of book, you know, based on that logic. At least let's pick a place based on that logic. All of these venues, or at least a lot of these venues, have like descriptions attached to them. Dickens Athletic Center is a 2,500 seat multi-purpose, officially known as the Klaus Memorial Hall of Butler University, is a performance hall located on the campus of Butler University in Indianapolis, Indiana. We could go home here. Let's see. There's a music venue located there. What's like the biggest fan gate that we'll get? Mid-South, Southwest, or Tri-State area. We can run the 300, or rather the 2,300. Physical Fitness Center. Hulu Theater, what? It's famous for the Manhattan Center. Okay. Stage AE is a multi-purpose entertainment complex located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Indoor concert hall and an outdoor amphitheater. What venue will let you run more than one company per night? The theater at Madison Square Garden. Madison Square Garden isn't a bad shout. New York City and the Bronx. Let's do that. No, let's do this. Stage AE in Pennsylvania. Booking team meeting. Okay, we need to... Alright, team, we need to get fucking Nyla Rose and goddamn Deonna Purrazzo over. Alright? How are we gonna do it? Let's figure this out. What? It can only be applied to Kenny Omega. Okay, well, you know what? Kenny Omega and Josh Alexander. There you go. Cool. Now, character idea. I feel like that... leaves Taya Valkyrie. I believe that's how you spell it. It's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've seen Taya Valkyrie. Layla Hirsch has turned up and requested she be allowed to hang out backstage. Okay. Sure, why not? Megan Bain came to you backstage with an angle idea. It has been stored automatically. And the Beast Mornos did it too? Aw, you shouldn't have, buddy. And Big Bill got into an argument with Tony Schiavone backstage, annoyed at the morale officer's attempts at team building. Aren't these guys like besties or something? Hold on. She has a deep friendship with Britt Baker. Aw.
It's almost time for a 2-minute Cheetos break, my dudes.
No, it's not. No, it is not. Let's see here. Head women's trainer QT Marshall ran pre-show drills. Work on basics and safety. 8 students. Tommy Billington and Lee Johnson has been passing on tips on using psychology to his child Austin gun. Okay. Roderick Strong has taken Dante Martin under his wing as a protege. that is a fucked up sentence. Wow. Oh. I thought he was gonna take on Darius as well. Is it passing on tips on being more consistent? Man, we have a lot of like mentor and student dynamics here. Chris Hero and Thunder Rosa apparently butted heads backstage and both are furious with each other. Oh, they can work it out in the ring tonight. Let's do team bonding exercise. Oh god, that's a lot.
Hey, they all became stronger.
Yay! There was... Wait, I forgot about Swerve Strickland. How the fuck did I forget about Swerve Strickland? Ah! And MJF. Pat, you gotta help me. There's too much talent. Pat, you gotta help me. There's too much talent on this show. God damn it.
All right, so storylines.
First off, I want to check something. We have... What kind of, like, company are we? In terms of just, like, the style that we have.
Style.
Pretty sure...
Product,
yes. All in
Nerd Nirvana.
A spin-off of the Wrestling Nerd Nirvana product. This still appeals to that. But pushes things a little further. There's a little bit more focus on entertainment, especially during TV shows. Comedy's more pronounced, and they are less shy about promoting ultra bloody matches. Fine by me, brother.
Yep.
So I can focus a bit more on, like, actually booking wrestling.
Yeah.
Rather than filling it up with angles.
Alright. So we do need a, I would say... At some point, you can have a return promo for Abaddon.
Yeah, I need to, like, pre-tape something with her, I feel like.
Yeah.
So... I'll pre-tape, like, a video package with her.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to do a little something that we like to do on...
I'm gonna move my mouse out of the way, give me a moment. Okay.
Tony Storm is very much a face. I'm going to, women's division. And we don't have any women to book on this show, do we?
Where are all of them? Is it like...
Oh! It's because I have the heel view on.
Oh, okay.
Is this really all the heels we have? That's crazy.
You gotta start turning some people.
Yeah, I do. How many faces do I have? I can turn a few people.
Fucking Britt Baker.
I gotta turn Britt Baker, yeah. What's her attributes? Better as a heel, amazing heel, exactly. Emi Sakura. Yeah, I'll do Emi Sakura. Go out there, have a good... Oh man, it's 12 minutes by default. That sounds about right.
Yep.
That sounds about right for an AEW TV match like this. Serena Deeb is a road... Man, we have a lot of road agents. A lot of people here that I've not heard of, really. Wait, Germa's a road agent too. That's great. Dean Malenko. Billy Gunn. There's Serena Deeb for this one. Victor will be Tony Storm. Let's see here. I'll have them open up the show.
It's almost time for a 2-minute Cheetos break, my dudes.
Yeah.
We'll have... Where's the Victor? There it is. Yeah, Tony Storm is the Victor there. Got it. And unfortunately, we do need to run an ad, so we'll go ahead and do that. In an effort to make sure that we don't kind of
it's
run
break
super
time.
long at this
Where
point.
the heck's the Cheetos, my dudes?
Raw rolls on after this. I'm not necessarily going to rush through the booking, but I am going to just kind of put things down according to specifically what I want. You know?
cinema scenes of ninja.
We do have
put a lot of-
storylines to. We do have storylines to start.
We do have storylines to start.
That's probably that. I think that's going to be the bulk of your. That's going to be the bulk of this show. Is that we've got to start the storylines.
Yeah, we gotta start the stories.
So what we got?
We got a lot here.
Adam Cole and Kyle Fletcher. There's a promo right there. There's a 5-10 minute promo right, or we'll say
like
6 minute
promo. I think that's like 8 minutes, especially like with Don Callis. You know.
Yeah.
Here, and I'm also going to kind of have a little bit of a angle there where they kind of butt heads with the Paragon as well.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I feel like I'm going to implement a couple things there with that tag feud that I'll do for next time. But for now, Adam Cole.
Well, you 100% have to start at least 3. Preferably more.
I do need to start at least 3 ones, yes. Adam Cole. No. It needs to be cutting a promo. Kyle Fletcher. Don Callis. We'll fill the angle there.
And then
Adam Cole and Kyle Fletcher promo. So we'll start that. I'll have a 2-minute brawling angle between Roderick Strong.
Nom nom. Oh, excuse me, we're back, my dudes.
Hey, welcome back to Dynamite Booking. This is Kyle O'Reilly, Kyle Fletcher. I have Don Callis there, not fighting, but working the crowd a little bit. Lance Archer fighting. And God, who else is in the Don Callis family? Rocky Romero. Yeah, you know what? I'll do that. I'm gonna do that. Making Bane angle idea. This will go into a match here between a tag team match here between the Paragon and 2 members of the Don Callis family. Probably Lance Archer and Rocky Romero.
yeah.
That seems pretty logical to me. Romero, the Paragon. Strong is pleased. You bet he is. I'll have them do an 11-minute match. I'll have Roddy get the win over Rocky. Roddy over Rocky. Do Wild Brawl. Paragon versus Don Callis family. I need to make sure that Tony and Emmy open up the show. I'll have Mercedes put the TBS title on the line tonight against somebody. Mercedes Monet takes on Harley Cameron would be fun. Jamie Hayter, Chris Statlander. Oh, I know what to do. Kyle versus Mercedes Monet. Title on the line. have Mercedes Moné win that with some interference.
Welcome back to Dynamite, by the way.
Yes, welcome back. Welcome back to Dynamite. When I saw he wasn't on the card, I didn't want to watch it. Not that WWE has much of my viewing right now, but, well, you and I both. Let's see.
I haven't watched WWE in any real capacity since the pandemic. Like, I tapped out during the Thunderdome era.
Mm-hmm.
I think I remember Keith Lee was there the last time I watched it.
That's insane. And Keith Lee has not been on TV at all for anything in like multiple years at this point. Which is insane. It's insane to think about, but that is the case. Has it been multiple years? It's been at least a year. No, it's been multiple years because after Keith Lee couldn't wrestle his match against Swerve, that's about the time that Swerve started taking off.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Speaking of, where the fuck did Keith Lee vanish to? Health reasons. Health reasons that he didn't really specify, but it's health reasons.
Yeah.
So, the main event, right? We need to kind of decide that here.
And then I would do a pretty decent. I would do like basically the promo that Adam Page cut after he beat Swerve for the last time. Just turn that into a thing in this and use Mox as a target and just have that be your main event.
Just a promo.
Yeah, just a promo.
This is after he like beat Will Ospreay too.
Yeah.
So. I have an idea then. We're gonna do quick angle. I'm gonna do a cutting promo. 8 minutes. Adam Page.
And then target would be Mox, because I don't think he's gonna be on screen.
Adam Page. Main event promo. Does you know that he'd prefer to work without a script? That's fine, bud. You go out there. I believe in you. They expect 70% matches.
So now you're at 72% and you're about halfway full. So you've got Adam Cole and Kyle Fletcher, you've got the Adam Page storyline. What else do we need? Oh, and we also need a storytelling and a Steal the Show match. Which you can turn that into Steal the Show. Or
no, I'm doing.
No, you can't have make that one storytelling because you can't do it.
What I was doing.
Don't do a Steal the Show with a dirty finish.
What I will put down though, as Steal the Show.
Josh Alexander and Kenny Omega. Or Dralistico and
Mike Bailey.
Mike Bailey.
Yep. Now you're thinking.
Mm-hmm. And then you can do a full LFI beatdown
afterwards.
Yeah. Afterwards for
we need, I think 18 minutes is around where we want this shit. Steal the Show. Consistent, however, which could spoil the match.
God damn it, we're gonna try, and it's got Mike Bailey in it. So.
It's got goddamn Mike Bailey and goddamn Dralistico in it. They can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Go out there and do flippy shit, you goddamn sons of bitches. I love the X Division. Yeah, this will be some flippy dippy shit. Well, who here has enough psychology to work 18 minutes? This guy's... No, you know what? I trust them. I trust them with 17. I trust them with 17 minutes. They can do it. Match of this length. He does not really have the stamina for it. Well, how about 15?
Who else? Okay.
15, we
Take
can do that.
2 minutes off of it. So I would put, yeah. Then we need some
maybe
promos
before
in
the
the main event. Yeah.
Promo. We're gonna do that.
Actually, I would put that like right after the Tony Storm match.
I don't know.
Because work the crowd to steal the show means that the crowd's already hyped up.
That's true. And also, we're gonna bring back Nyla Rose here.
Yep. Give Nyla Rose and Abaddon both return promos.
Attack her.
Oh yeah, because we're gonna have her attack Tony Storm. And then
Victim. This will be
and then you also
like an
have
extended beatdown. I feel like this will be like
2 minutes. Just
3 minutes.
Shows up, wrecks shit, and leaves.
I feel like it takes 3 minutes to wreck shit. I think.
Yeah.
Surprise. There you go. Single idea. I'll apply that to the post-match beatdown stuff with Mike Bailey and Jolistico. The Beast Mortos one. Here. Quick angle. But yeah, Keith Lee vanished into health concerns. Roosh. Jolistico and the Beast Mortos. Mike Bailey. Mike Bailey beatdown. Let's see. Okay. And Beast Mortos had a creative idea. Very risky. You best be onto something, bud. But it's just gonna rot in my creative ideas if I don't use it here. So, I know that for a fact. It's just gonna rot in my creative ideas. We're gonna do a tease, pre-tape video for Abaddon return package.
And I would do like keep that motherfucker short.
1 minute, yeah.
Yeah, 1 minute video pre-tape.
Subject of video. There you go.
And then just kind of put that somewhere with like a clean, yeah, like that. Maybe you could put it like in between Paragon and Don Callis and then the TBS title match. Just to kind of break that up.
No, right there. I think.
Yeah.
That right there is the one.
Just kind of have it like the fucking old Wyatt promos that just kind of cut in randomly.
Mm-hmm. We'll do pre-tape of Deonna Purrazzo backstage. There'll be an interview.
Yeah.
Off screen. There'll be Mina Shirakawa. Let's see. Let's see. Sorry. Renee Paquette, interviewer. Deonna Purrazzo targets Shirakawa. And this will be after the segment that comes after Mina Shirakawa and Mercedes Moné. Because I am going to have a bit of a promo off between those two as well. 5-minute promo between Willow and Mercedes to reignite their feud.
Yeah.
Willow and Moné promo. Boom. Would it be incredibly... Would it be like a real shocking thing to have Kenny Omega drop the title on this night? I feel like it would be, considering that... What's Kenny Omega, for one thing? Oh yeah, that's right, I need to apply the character idea to Deonna. Please, please, please work. Yes! Okay, cool. Cool.
Now she's not associated with Taya Valkyrie.
She also has a little bit better momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Not the best, but we can get her there.
Yep.
What other storylines do we need to do tonight? Mike Bailey, LFI. Syndicate versus Paragon. I need to initiate that. I'll have the Hurt Syndicate cut like a backstage interview on him. Backstage interview. MVP, Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley, MJF because he's still associated with them at this time, Renee Paquette. It'll be a 2-minute thing. Oh, I need to have them target someone, right? Roderick Strong. Off screen. Not Kyle Fletcher, Kyle O'Reilly. Off screen. Hurt Syndicate interview. MJF is unhappy because he does not want to be scripted. It's pre-taped, so they can do it. They can do that.
Mm-hmm. So now you're at 64%, so you can probably do a couple more matches and you won't even have to think about it.
Let's see if I have any more storylines I need to do.
We did let's see, Josh Alexander, Kenny Omega. I think that's really about it.
Who's someone I can have Josh, like, win against? Real quick here.
Real quick.
Well, really, it's like dealer's choice.
Yeah, dealer's choice. Some face that doesn't have a ton of momentum.
Or someone that I don't really plan on using that much.
Somebody you don't really plan on using that much. Danhausen. Just have him fucking squash Danhausen.
I don't know. The fact he's angry means he's gonna phone it in. You know?
Yeah. Somebody.
Hook.
No, I mean, are you not gonna use Hook or?
No, no. I might. See, like, that's the thing here. I might use some of these guys, but, like, doesn't really mean much.
Powerhouse. Oh, Powerhouse Hobbs.
Hobbs?
Yeah.
This match would probably rip. Yeah, you're right.
Big
meaty men. Kind of
big meaty men. Big meaty men doing body slams.
Big meaty man slapping another man's. I'm not gonna do that.
Some people are into that. I don't know.
I want to keep Powerhouse Hobbs strong coming out of this.
Yeah. Okay. So
we'll have this kind of in the middle of the card here.
Yeah, and then you could probably do like a quick little promo. You could do a quick promo with like where Don Callis is telling Alexander
that
like
he needs to shape up.
He needs to be more dominant.
Mm-hmm.
Or fight or take on bigger prey or hunt bigger prey.
I would say more dominant.
Yeah.
Josh Alexander can kind of work the crowd a little bit. How are Josh's acting skills? Middle of the road. He could probably make it work. It's only 2 minutes. Let's see here.
I would do backstage.
Yeah, backstage. And how are we gonna like set this up with Omega? Oh, I know how we're gonna set up with Omega.
Or storyline development. And then add the storyline will advance with add the storyline will advance to the road agent notes.
I actually have a better idea. We'll add another part in there. We'll have a bit of a stare down between the two. Like after Dawn walks out of frame, and he's like, "Are you really gonna let him like treat you like that?" You know?
Yeah.
Don Callis and Josh Alexander Angle. We'll do backstage. We'll do foreshadowing too.
Okay, so you've got another 5
minutes.
5 minutes. If you wanted to do just a 10-minute, just a random 10-minute match to test some a random 10-minute tag team match to test some chemistry, you could do that.
I think that'd be good. Just for shits and giggles. Let's do Brodito. And let's see
something that I like to. That's something that I like to do just to kind of try different things out and see if you can build something. Because I've found some good feuds with that. Ooh, okay.
I'm cooking. I'm cooking, aren't I?
Mm-hmm.
I'll have Bandito.
Get the pin on Claudio.
I feel like if I'm gonna do this, pin on. No, I'm gonna do this. Brody King, pin on Wheeler Yuta.
Yes.
I think that's the smart thing.
Mm-hmm.
Bam. There you go. That right there's an episode of Dynamite if I've ever seen one. Go ahead.
Let's give it a try.
We'll make this actually. This right here.
Yeah.
So that way we come out from break and that's the first thing we see, the Abaddon return package.
And then Adam finishes off.
Yeah, and then Adam takes us home with the main event segment. Dralistico is being used far too much on this show. Well, you're being used far too much on this show.
Switch out Dralistico for another member of LFI. See if you can do like Mortos for that.
I have him go over Mortos. I mean, a lot of people go over Mortos. That's fine.
Yeah.
About that. Let's do that shit. Okay, there you go. See? And I absolutely trust both of these guys to, like, put on a really compelling match.
Yeah.
So. How does 15 minutes sound, boys? Yeah, I knew that would sound good to you. How are we in terms of, like, our,
I think everything has been, yeah. And then that's...
Omega has a major role and has been involved for at least 30 days.
So you gotta wait on that one.
Okay. Is there anyone on my roster that's underdeveloped? Because if there is, then I know a great place to use them. Consider it unimportant and they don't really have a lot of seasoning yet. Potent gun. I could do the guns versus someone else on the pre-show. Just have them be in a dark match.
Yeah.
I'll do the guns. I'll have them take on someone. The guns... How is one of them considered recognizable and the other not? Wait, one is 26? That's insane. Okay, well that makes a little more sense. So the guns are faces. Or heels.
MXM?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Actually, hold on. I think this is probably a better use of my resources. The Outrunners versus Maximum Male Models. On the pre-show. That's a dark match. And I don't really care who wins this one, I'll just book it. Bam. There you go. And we're not going to be penalized for anything. Cool. Do we have anything else that we need to develop here?
I think you've got... I think everything has at least some...
Yeah, all this is booked on the show. So... That's some sort of storyline development. Alright. Let's run it. Ooh, let's go, ignite! Alright, welcome to AEW Dynamite. It's a packed crowd here with cracked ribs from Turbo Floyd. Fuck!
It's almost time for a 2-minute Cheetos break, my dudes.
Ah, come on! No, it's not! Get out of here. Alright, in the pre-show, we had a poor pre-show match between the Outrunners and Maximum Male Models. Turbo Floyd sustained an injury there. He got cracked ribs, unfortunately. Three of the guys here were really off their game. Erica Lay...
Brandon Cutler could have done a better job.
Apparently, Brandon Cutler did a really shitty job at putting this match together. Turbo Floyd sustained cracked ribs in this match. I know. Hold on. With that in mind... Brandon Cutler, no. Chris Hero, yes. And on the main show proper, we have Emi Sakura versus Toni Storm in a decent match.
Pretty good chemistry, okay.
Yay, pretty good chemistry, and it lifted the match. Yay, okay, well, we have a potential future feud there. Toni defeated them with the Storm Zero. The match was designed to work the crowd, and it did. But what also worked the crowd is the return of Nyla Rose, who absolutely just battered Toni Storm, absolutely just making her claim for the AEW Women's World title after being out of the scene for far too long. She's back, and she's back with a vengeance. We'll see what's going on with her this Saturday on Collision. But in a show-stealing match, we have Mike Bailey and the Beast Mortos. Apparently Taz and Excalibur thought it was an episode of Dark, and they just started riffing during the match. But that added to it. So, yeah. Apparently it was a really good match. Mike Bailey, a little bit better than Mortos. Listen, it's Mike Bailey. It's hard to be better than Mike Bailey. And then, afterwards, the Beast Mortos' storyline idea he gave me before the show was fucking dog shit. And Germa was the producer? I'm sorry. Hold on.
I gotta... It was a failure.
I gotta make some changes here soon. I'm gonna check the friggin' staff stuff for all of these real fast.
Yeah.
Some of these are not ideal. I need to take Germa. I need to take myself off as a producer because I'm not very good at it, apparently.
Yeah.
I'm not a good producer. Glacier. No. Jeff Jarrett. Not you, Deanna. We need some really good, like... We need some really good work here if we're gonna, like, get her character on track.
Yeah.
Powerhouse Hobbs versus Josh Alexander. Sanjay Dutt. I can live with that. Not this. QT more. No. Scott Garland. Oh, wait, is that Sky Tuhati?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. He'll turn it up, I'm sure. Brody King and Bandito against the Death Riders. Billy Gunn, I'm fine with him producing this. Actually, no, I'm gonna have Chris Hero do it. The Abaddon return package, that also needs to be awesome. Dustin Rhodes, I trust him to do it. And then the main event segment, where Adam Page lays out the challenge against Jon Moxley. But Swerve Strickland, will he be in his corner? Who knows? Alright, Fletcher and Cole promo. Okay, there you go, cool. White hot crowd for this next matchup here. It's a tag team match. Yes, excellent chemistry with each other. Why didn't we know this before?
Because you never know chemistry before you start, even though it's obvious.
Fair enough, but like, I knew these guys are going to be good.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that the game told me they're good. In a decent wild brawl. Cool. Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley enjoyed going off script. It's insane that the only one that didn't benefit from off script in this is MJF. Wow. Okay. Cool. And after an incredible showing in that tag team match, the Hurt Syndicate lay out a challenge for them for the tag straps next week on Dynamite. But this week we have...
It's almost time for a 2-minute Cheetos break, match, my dudes.
Which will commence after this ad break.
It's break time.
There you go.
Where the heck's the Cheetos, my dudes?
AEW goes all in after this.
Dynamite reaches its...
We like the fuse after this break.
Wrestling fans rejoice. WCW NWO Revenge is here. With 50 real-life wrestlers, awesome animation, and tons of different moves, Rolling around in virtual tights has never been so much fun. All this game needs is an option to play as Jesse the Body Ventura.
WCW
Wouldn't that be
NWO
cool?
Revenge.
Or how about a wrestling game featuring Bill, Hillary, Monica Lewinsky, Ken Starr, Al D'Amato, and Henry Hyde? Now that would be the perfect wrestling game.
I think that you commented that that's just celebrity deathmatch. A game with like Bill Clinton and Hillary and so on and so forth.
Yes.
And Jesse the Body Ventura. Because he's like D-list celebrity. But like at best. By submission with a bank statement. I like how it's called the bank statement here still and not the statement maker.
I mean, you can edit that.
I can edit that. This makes defense number 18 of the AEW TBS title. So yeah, I'm gonna have her drop the title. I'm gonna have her drop the title to Willow here soon. In like 2 weeks' time, I think.
Yeah.
We're gonna have her drop the title to Willow. So that way she can have the match against Toni Storm at, All In. And then we'll have, a grudge match between Willow and Chris Statlander at the pay-per-view as well. Cool. Right.
Yeah.
Excuse
me, we're back, my dudes.
Hey, welcome back to AEW Dynamite, where, oh my gosh, in the commercial break, Mercedes Moné defeated Mina Shirakawa, making defense number 18 of the AEW TBS title. But who comes out after the match when Mercedes Moné's talking trash? Then her old rival, Willow Nightingale, who said after spending months on AEW Collision, not going for any titles, she has come back to reclaim what is rightfully hers, and that is a TBS title that Mercedes won off of her months ago. The title that she never got a second chance at. They'll go at it in 2 weeks' time. But oh, what's this? After the match, in fact, we have mic time with Deonna Purrazzo, who ended up costing Mina Shirakawa the match. She says that she is on the hunt for Mina Shirakawa and is officially splitting up from her tag team with Taya Valkyrie. Because in order to get anywhere in AEW, you must go it alone. And then, after that match, we have Powerhouse Hobbs take on Josh Alexander. An incredible match, I'd probably say. Josh ends up picking up the win after Powerhouse Hobbs gave him a hell of a fight. And afterwards, Don Callis just lays into him, says that Josh needs to be more dominant, he needs to be more aggressive with his opponents. And after the verbal lashing, Kenny Omega approaches Josh. And he's like, are you really gonna take that from him? I was with him myself. And believe you me, you don't want what he has. Following that match, we have, yes! Wait, hold on.
A 72, goddamn.
72. Dude, that's incredible. Brody King, Bandito, Wheeler Yuta, Jon Moxley, they all had pretty good work in this match. Jon Moxley and Wheeler had great chemistry when teaming together. Taz and Excalibur once again thought they were watching AEW Dark and they just started riffing. But that added to the match. They started talking about their barbecues and stuff. Brody King and Julia Hart. I didn't even know Julia Hart was the manager. I guess she is. Cool. What?
An initial rating of poor.
Dude.
That's rough.
What? Why? Dustin, I trusted you, man.
Hasn't got a bonus from him.
I got a small bonus from him.
Yeah.
Then you had the main event segment, which was even better than the match that preceded it. In where Hangman Page, after seeing that display from the Death Riders, he knows that especially after the big match at Double or Nothing, the Anarchy in the Arena, he knows that the Death Riders are in a weakened state. And he's on a high after winning the Owen Hart Memorial Cup tournament. And he's laying out the shot right now. He wants Mox at AEW All In. Swerve comes out, gives Hangman a stare down. Doesn't know if Swerve will be on his side. But he knows he has to for the greater good of AEW. We'll see how that turns out. Swerve Strickland benefited from having a hot catchphrase. I don't think he has a hot catchphrase in real life.
Whose house?
Someone else's house. Oh yeah, that's right. Yes, you're right. Apologies. Whose house?
Show increased our popularity in 29 regions. Benefited from,
I guess, yeah,
having quite a wide selection of angles.
We lost popularity like in a lot of different places.
No, it says we would have gained popularity, but
oh, so he didn't lose popularity
was restricted
anywhere.
due to limited. Doesn't look like it. Your show
Injury
and
review.
then
Oh
yeah,
well, he'll
can
be
be
fine
work
for next week.
Oh, okay.
Financial report. Hey, we got money. I almost got the money that I almost got back all the money I paid you. Last
There you
week.
go. Popularity recap.
We're building in Kanto, I guess.
Yep.
Cool. Nice.
Nice.
And that is the episode of Dynamite. I don't know why Swerve's house didn't register in my brain. Maybe it's because it's just like become like just such a thing with him that it doesn't even register as like a catchphrase anymore.
Yep.
For me. That was some real like anti-Mark behavior from me. I apologize. It will not be repeated. All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up for us. This took us 3.5 hours and we only did a single show. We did one show.
Pick yourself and then save the game.
Yeah, I'll just book myself and I'll save. Let's see. Excalibur Rival bid update.
An ongoing handshake deal for $500 per show. Your offer is a 5-year written contract for night. Their offer is not being seriously considered.
Man, Len, you work somewhere else, brother, so that's...
A 1.85 TV rating.
Dude, look at these viewing figures.
Yep.
2,242,431 viewers. Imagine those numbers, dude. That's crazy. That is insane for Dynamite. Interview with Cody Rhodes. There was a short appearance by Cody Rhodes on a nationally screened TV show last night as he helped promote WWE. He did excellently, showing himself to be a charismatic and professional ambassador for the business. Oh, don't worry. The feedback from viewers has been great and has drawn a lot of praise. That's what you get when you have Germa book for you. Icons ends.
What is the strain?
The strain?
It says the strain formed. Okay, that's a ice ribbon thing.
Okay. I'm sure that my friend Ari would probably know more about that.
Mm-hmm.
Was this the younger guy that got injured for Bob Floyd?
Yeah,
yes. That's some green stuff if I've ever seen it, dude. Man. Okay. Good comedic timing. Flavor of the month. The worker recently did something that's everybody talking about them. They get a small bonus to the rating of every match and angle they are in to simulate the increased interest. Plus a boost their merchandise sales.
I'm guessing the fact that they got hurt?
They said, "You son of a bitch," and then he broke his ribs on the elbow drop, and then he was really saying, "You son of a bitch," to his partner. The fucking truth magnet. Who is this? Cardio Loco. Oh, okay. Well, I guess he just doesn't have a face for this gimmick?
I guess not.
Okay. DDT, What Are You Doing? Tour Night 1. That's an incredible name for a tour, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's DDT for you.
What are you doing indeed? Man, we gotta find a way to redeem this. We gotta find a way to redeem Abaddon here.
Yeah.
She's happy in the current state though, so that's fine. Maybe if I let her do like a creepy little backstage thing, that'll help out.
Or whenever, I mean, worst case scenario, you might be able to like keep her off of TV. And then at a certain point, like re-debut her like without the face, or re-debut them without the face paint.
Sure.
And then basically do like femme-coded Finn Balor. Finn Balor, if you will.
Finn Balor is great, honestly. Ah, yes. You know what? I can fuck with that. Let's see. Abaddon is a mildly positive influence. Why? Why does Max Caster have a bad influence? Britt Baker D&D has a negative influence. Because she has the bully personality trait. Taz is a mildly negative influence. Why? What did he do? What's wrong with Taz? They start singing people's like theme songs again, and then they found it annoying. Here, let's see. He has prickly personality type.
That's why.
Who takes offense very easily. That's the first I'm hearing of it. Whatever. Let's see here. Turn of hook. Hopefully hostile towards John Layfield. Don't worry, dude. A lot of people are.
As they should be.
As they should be. How much upside does Danhausen have? He's
marketing dream.
He could make me a lot of money.
Yeah.
Creative.
So you may as well. So you can book him to do crazy cool shit, and then that would get and then he would get over the angry, especially.
Yeah, if I like book him on shows, he might actually not be as mad. Okay, how about this? I'm gonna give him a bonus. I'll give you $20,000 if you stop being mad at me. Yeah! Let's go.
That works.
$20,000 never hurt anybody. Cool. Yep. Well,
there are a lot of people I would be less mad at if they gave me 20 grand. So you're telling me, so you're going to give me the down payment for a house?
Absolutely, brother. Just stop being pissed at me, please. Yeah. Please, I beg of you. Ryan Schmad, thank you very much for following. You're now a member of the Longboy Club for life. With that, I think we're pretty good, honestly. Yep. I think we're pretty good for like this. We were able to fix Danhausen's morale problem. Hold on, let me see if he's like. Let me see if he has Mario. Like, a backstage effect. Yeah. Danhausen has a mildly positive backstage effect. Great. Hope you know that you make the world better, and I hope your booking goes well and no crazy injuries. Well, it's a little too late for that. We do have an injury. It's not a crazy one, but there is an injury. Ooh. Okay, good. We're fine. I kind of want to break up the learning tree, just because I would like to have Big Bill doing something that's not that.
Yeah.
I would like for him to, you know, have a tag team with, you know, Brian Keith. I How's Brian Keith's just anything? Okay, he's like pretty middle of the road when it comes to like most things. So with that in mind, keeping them as a tag team is probably for the best. Do they have like a tag team perk? Alright, well, I mean, Big Bill does. You know what? I'm gonna do something. It's always bugged me that he's just called Big Bill, right?
Yeah.
And not Big Bill Morrissey, because he was called Bill, because he was called Morrissey in TNA. So,
yep.
like, it's gonna sound crazy, but as Big Bill, can't take him seriously.
Yeah.
Rather, I can't take him as seriously.
It's fucking, it's WWE brain rot that everybody's got to have one fucking name and not, and can't just go by by two names. Also, you can change Cope back to Adam Copeland.
Oh yeah, that's right. Wait, hold on.
Yeah. I mean, he owns the Rated R Superstar trademark, so
the Rated R Superstar. So yeah, he's now Edge.
Yep.
He's now Edge once more. Edge and Christian Cage. Actually, no. You know what? No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna do Adam Copeland. Short name Edge.
Yep.
Adam Copeland. Okay, cool. There you go. We have a lot of Adams here. At least 3 whole Adams. Alright, cool.
Just like what's in your body. At least 3 whole atoms.
3 whole. 3 entire ones. And don't you fucking forget it. I've been playing a few 04 files. I started WWE 04, but changed the product to Rainbow Lucha Libre. That sounds very fun. That sounds very fun.
Would watch the shit out of that.
I'm in 2004? Yeah, that's crazy.
In 2004, my parents would have told me absolutely not. This is
stop watching this wrestling bullshit.
This is a demonic perversion. But now that I don't talk to them anymore, it's fantastic.
Hey, nice. It's nice that you would enjoy that. So
yeah.
So wait, is Colton Gunn and Austin Gunn, are they like two different levels of over? No, they're about the same. Colt Cabana is considered unimportant. Does he have any booking skills? He's got good psychology. I could put him on as a
road agent.
Yeah, I mean, what else am I gonna do with him?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that. Road agent. I'm gonna take Germa off as road agent because he's not very good at it.
Yep.
I feel like Brandon Cutler has potential, so I'm gonna kind of keep him there for now. I will keep Brian Cage in the Don Callis family. He has torn quads, unfortunately. He's got Kevin Nash-itis.
Yep.
Hard to say. Let's see. Now, I would love to try and do something with Daniel Garcia, but the problem is I've tried to care about him in real life, right?
Yeah.
And I just don't think I do.
Yeah.
I've tried my best, but he's vanilla ice cream if he's a babyface.
Yep.
How over is Darby? Pretty over.
More momentum, considered well known.
Well, he shouldn't. Oh, Absent do the. Oh yeah, because he's climbing Mount Everest. Sorry, this is something I like poking through a lot. Torn ACL. I have a soft spot for Garcia since he's a Buffalo boy. I have a soft spot for him as well. The problem is that in terms of character, he just wrestle good, which is fine. But in AEW, you kind of need more than that in order to stand out.
He's Kyle Fletcher at home.
That's honestly an incredible way to put it. Yeah. Is member of L'Affection Ingovernable. Why does he not... Okay, hold on. I need to have him manage, like...
Have him manage Daniel Garcia.
That's a very good idea, but that's not what I was thinking. Because he's part of L'Affection Ingovernable. So...
Yeah.
I'm gonna just pair him up with the members of L'Affection Ingovernable. It's the Beast Mortos. I thought that set the saw blade for a second. I was about to crash the fuck out. He's not the fucking saw blade. Wardlow out injured. Both true then and true now, unfortunately. Dude cannot stay in the business to save his life, unfortunately. Wait, is he with the Don Callis family? He is! Why didn't I pair him up with friggin' Rocky Romero? Is it because... No, he's not out injured. Okay. How good is she in terms of just anything? She has, like, pretty good, just, like, a charismatic ability overall. She could use a little more. I also need to figure out Will Ospreay, too.
Yeah, he's got to have something to do.
Because he's, like, one of my biggest stars. I gotta give him something. Maybe on Collision.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. I'll figure that out next time. We've gone on for a really long time now. I'll find someone to raid and then we'll sign off. It is currently almost 2 in the morning though, so it's gonna be a little hard, I think.
Mr. Cool is still alive.
Here, let me see. Is Adam still alive?
That's what it says on my end.
It is. Although I rated him last night, I would like to rate somebody else.
Also, my boy Ripley is still alive. Playing a baseball version of TEW.
Ooh. Well, we can send people over to that.
Ripley the Oriole.
Ripley the Oriole. Cool. I mean, it's within the same ballpark. We're gonna go over to them. Why not? It's a new person. We can send them the Long Boy Club love, as always. Hold on. Long Boy Club love. I don't even know what the fuck Cody did. Okay, no, never mind. It's the same thing that we did last time. And next time you need to book 2 whole shows. Well, 4 shows. Actually.
Yep, 4.
You got
2 of which are B shows, so they don't matter and they're 30 minutes a pop.
So really just do whatever the fuck you want
on
those. We're going to start the raid here. Thank you all for joining us this evening. This was really fun. I would like to sort of have at least some sort of visual component to this. Like maybe incorporate like Fire Pro Wrestling World and recreate the cards that we make. I think that would be kind of cool.
You are speaking my language, my friend.
Yeah, I knew I would. I fucking knew I would. So maybe next time I have Patcher, we'll pop these cards into, Fire Pro, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, next time we do stuff on stream, we will be doing another wrestling game, probably AEW Fight Forever, because I would like to see if I still enjoy that, or rather, if I've grown
Hello,
accustomed
Mario.
to that game after all of this time, because it's been 3 years, well, 2 years actually. I would like to see if it's any good. But anyways, I'll see you all next Friday.
Adios.
Adios. Right, rating.